Starting in Konoha, I got the Rinnegan by signing in. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 401. Because of that location, the distance from Kato, the distance from the end, and even the distance from Mare and Fando are almost the same. They couldn't tell who the demon eye Ryubana came from. Not only that, but depending on the demon eye's fluent style of action, he fought a king under the 7 martial arts, the navy, and the 4 emperors. All the forces on the sea seem to have been done by him. This makes it even harder to judge the purpose of the magic eye flowing blade. Whatever his purpose, Master Kato, let me meet him. Jin, one of the 3 plagues, immediately stood up and made a proposal. Let me see, what qualifications does he have to rank above Master Kato? Kato groaned for a moment, but waved his hand. In any case, he also defeated the Whitebeard. Let me go personally. Speaking of this, Kato's eyes flashed with a light. In this boring world, I hope that the magic eye can bring me some surprises. Kato has always thought that this world is very boring, meaningless. It is best to destroy it. So he has nothing to do all day to seek death or even commit suicide. Just going to the Navy headquarters and being caught and executed by the Navy more than 40 times. It was a complete psychological abnormality. But in the sea, no one can kill him at all, including Kato himself, until the magic eye Ryubana rose to fame on the sea. In fact, Kato had long wanted to go to Ryubana to find death, but he hadn't had a chance. But now, the opportunity is finally here. Kato will naturally not let it go. The order goes on. All the ships, turn the course, to intercept the magic eye Ryubana. Then, Kato gave such an order as one of the 4 emperors. Kato is also in a critical period of provoking the navy. And he is naturally being watched by the whole sea all the time. He had stopped at the periphery to confront the Navy headquarters, but suddenly changed his course. This action immediately attracted a lot of attention. Soon, everyone discovered that the direction of the Kato Pirates group was actually the direction of the magic eye Ryubana. As a result, the whole sea boiled once again, directly exploding the pot. Could it be that the Kato Pirates group flew towards the demon eye? By beast Kato, are you going to take a shot at demon eye flowing blade? One is the absolute overlord who has been entrenched in the new world for many years, and the other is the superstar that has recently emerged. What kind of stormy waves will the collision of these two set off? Red-haired pirates, on the main ship. Captain, the purpose of demon eye Ryubana is temporarily unknown, but Kato is very likely to deal with demon eye Ryubana. Deputy Captain Ben Beckman said to the red hair very solemnly. Take out the words that may be possible. Boo shrugged and said in a very positive tone, that Death Hunter must go to the demon eye to find death. I'm afraid Kato will really die this time. Lakalu said vaguely after taking a bite of a chicken leg. If it's the magic eye, it should be able to kill Kato. Another cadre also said with interest. Although Kato is known as the strongest creature and is recognized as the strongest in Heads Up, the record of demon eye rushing blade is too sturdy. If there is anyone in this world who can kill Kato, then it is none other than the magic eye. Red-haired Shanks rubbed his temples, revealing an extremely headache. These guys are so true. Why can't they stop for a while, if they do this nonsense? The sea is really messed up. The red hair smiled helplessly and sighed. Then he stood up and casually ordered, ready for the boat. I hope they can see my face and stop these meaningless struggles. A pair of preserved eggs. Robin, it's your turn. I have a pair of tips. Crushing you to death, Master Ryubana. I am a big king. Hey, Master Ryubana, I am taking revenge for you. Nami, do you have a pit in your head? A pair of big kings that you used to beat others. On the deck Ryubana, Nami, and Nicole Robin are fighting the landlord in full swing. As for the poor tool man, Lao Sha, they are still sailing. How can it be a tragic word? He wasn't an exploiter. It was Lao Sha who was too serious, and was not interested in anything other than work. In fact, Liu Ren wanted to see the unsmiling Lao Sha playing cards with his cigar in his mouth. That must be very interesting, but it was rejected by Lao Sha. Master Ryubana, a ship is coming up ahead. Several people were fighting vigorously, and Lao Sha suddenly turned his head to face Ryubana with a serious face. Snapped, let's make an order. An 8. Ryubana threw a card to the floor, and asked without looking back, who is it? It seems to be the red-haired boat. Lao Sha replied, and he looked at it again with the telescope and confirmed it again. Red hair. Nami raised her brows, showing a slight expression of surprise and excitement. Isn't that one of the four emperors? I don't know what he came to do with Master Ryuban, maybe come to me to save face. Liu Ren smiled and didn't take it seriously. Don't worry about him, let's continue. Nami, Nicole, Robin, both girls were speechless for a while. A person who can ignore the four emperors so much, I am afraid that apart from Master Ryuban, there will be no second one in the entire sea, right? However, the two girls have been around Liu Ren for so long, seeing Liu Ren's sturdy record one after another, and their horizons have gradually improved for the four emperors, there is not so much awe. Chapter 402. After they were speechless for a while, they actually continued to play cards with Ryuban nonchalantly. Master Ryuban, red hair is coming. It wasn't until Lao Sha came to Ryuban with his red hair that Ryuban clapped his hands in time and stood up, seeing Liu Ren despising himself so much. Neither the red-haired person nor the two cotters who came with the red-haired cared at all. The entire group of red-haired pirates has such a humiliating and unrestrained temperament. Obviously he has an incomparable strength, but even if he is bullied by a villain like Ant, he doesn't care. Liu Jian appreciates this point. The magic eye is flowing. You are younger than you look in the picture. It was not until Liu Ren got up that the red hair looked at Liu Ren and greeted Liu Ren with a smile. Shanks, please sit down. Liu Bian greeted with a red voice at this time, and the two parties were seated in the reception area on the deck. After a few simple greetings, Liu Bian said directly, okay, red hair, you definitely didn't come to compliment me specifically, just tell me if you have something. Although I am a little rude to ask, you probably won't answer me, but I still want to try to ask. The magic eye is flowing. I don't know if your goal this time is Malin Vander or the four emperors. What is your purpose? The red hair stared at Liu Ren and asked. Actually, I also have a question I want to ask you. Liu Yan also showed an expression of interest on his face. Without answering the question, what is your relationship with the Cheyenne Longren? The red-haired old who was sitting on the opposite side of Liu Jian suddenly changed his complexion, although the slightest change was only a flash, and was quickly covered by the red hair, but still did not escape Liu Jian's eyes. It's a strange question. I have nothing to do with the Cheyenne Longren, Hong Fei immediately replied with his calm posture, but that is only on the surface in his heart. The red hair set off a stormy sea, and the jealousy of the convection blade suddenly rose to peak. The relationship between him and the Cheyenne Longren is an extremely secret thing. Except for himself, no one in their pirate group knows about it, but who would have thought that Demon Eye Liu Bian seemed to know something? But why do you ask that? Red hair asked immediately afterwards, seemingly casual, but with high attention in his heart. Just ask. Liu Ren shrugged and said casually. Redheads naturally don't believe this, but since Liu Ren didn't say anything, the red hair could only give up. But he didn't dare to talk nonsense in front of Liu Ren anymore, and immediately began to talk business to Liu Ren. I received reliable information. Kato is coming to deal with you. Both of you are pivotal existences on the sea. If you two get into conflict, the whole sea will be plunged into turmoil. So for the sake of the stability of the sea, the magic eye is shining. I hope you can give me a face, and don't make a meaningless fight with Kato. We all sit down together, drink good wine, eat good food. Isn't that bad? The red hair sternly said to Liu Bian on one side. Nami and Nicola Robin couldn't help showing a strange look on their faces. Master Liu Bian was really right, and the red hair really wanted to save face. Ha ha ha. Shanks, then I can only say sorry to you. Your face is with me. It's worthless. Liu Bian couldn't help but smile. Well, that's a bit nerve-wracking. The red hair rubbed his temples and said with a helpless expression, since it hurts your brain, don't use your brain, just do it. Liu Ren stood up at this moment. If you win me, I will give you face. Is this really necessary? Red hair shook his head and sighed. Whether it is necessary or not, you have no choice. Liu Ren finished speaking very domineeringly, and shook his body directly, using the instantaneous technique to stand on the surface of the sea immediately afterwards. Bing Dun's power was activated. Click. The sea was frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a blink of an eye, the sea surface of more than 10 kilometers has become a boundless ice surface. The red hair and the two cotters he brought with him both stared in shock and couldn't believe it isn't a frozen fruit. The ability of the green pheasant general. Chapter 212. Kato? What a clown, what an amazing ability. Seeing that Liu Ren had even built the battlefield, Red Hair also knew that this battle between him and Liu Ren was inevitable. After letting out a sigh, the Red Hair didn't make any meaningless excuses, and jumped directly onto the ice. I heard that you defeated Hawkeye with a single sword. I thought you were also a great swordsman. But I didn't expect that you turned out to be a capable person. This is the first time I have seen a person with such an outstanding ability in swordsmanship. It really deserves to be a magic eye." The red hair let out a sound of admiration, and then pulled out his griffin directly, turning into a stream of light at once, and then rushed towards Liu Bian in the blink of an eye. He rushed to Liu Bian's face, swiped a sword, and slashed towards Liu Bian with an incomparable sword aura. So fast, Nami and Nicole Robin both had a faint look, and secretly exclaimed in their hearts. Even Lao Sha, who was the former king of Qiwu, had a look of surprise and solemnity on his face. The red hair is worthy of being the four emperors. A casual shot shows the strength of its top powerhouse. Not to mention, the speed alone makes it extremely difficult for Lao Sha to keep up. But just when the red-haired griffin was about to smash Liu Blade, the Liu Blade in front of him disappeared. Nanny. This speed, the red hair was taken aback, and the opponent's speed had reached a shocking level. Chapter 403. Even with red hair, there is a feeling of unresponsiveness. Not good. The next moment, the red hair instinctively swung the sword diagonally to his right side and slashed sharply. However, Liu Bian's fist, already carrying an unmatched powerful force, was like a meteorite from the outside world, and was beating him fiercely. Good reaction speed. Seeing that the red hair reacted in time and responded, Liu Ren let out a voice of approval. However, he didn't change his actions, and continued to smash the red hair in such a thunderous manner. Is he crazy? The red-haired face was in astonishment. His blade. But it was smashing against a fist of the magic eye. Isn't this person afraid of being cut off by his own sword? Immediately after the red hair found that the fist of Morn Liu Bian began to turn black, it was obvious that the other party was entangled with domineering. But just like this, do you dare to fight your own griffin with your bare hands? Isn't this magic eye arrogant? Too arrogant. When, immediately afterwards, the red hair felt that his griffin was hit by a crushing force, and it was quickly passed to him in the crisp sound of the incomparable golden iron strike. The red-haired man was like a cannonball, and was directly hit by Liu Bian and flew out. It's like a ping-pong ball on a ping-pong table, which is thrown away by someone. And it shoots directly backward for a distance of more than 30 meters. Deng deng stare. Not only that, after the red hair fell to the ground, he stepped back several steps one after another, stamping out several cracks on the ground. This is just the appearance that everyone can observe with the naked eye. And what everyone doesn't know is that the whole arm of the red hair holding the sword at this moment is very sore. The blood in his chest is surging constantly, like a galloping horse. What? How could it be possible? The red hair showed a look of extreme shock for an instant, and he couldn't believe anything. The magicka was so powerful that it was so powerful, it's simply crushing. He subconsciously looked at Liu Bian's domineering fist, but saw that the other's fist was intact. Don't say it was stabbed by griffin. Not even the slightest scar. What a terrible body this is. The redhead's heart set off a stormy sea. Although domineering can increase the hardness and strength of the fist, it is too exaggerated, right? Even if it is Iron Fist Carp's fist, it is insignificant compared to Demon Eye Liu Bian. The captain was, and flew away with just one punch. Magic Eye Liu Bian hit the captain with his bare hands. What kind of monster is this? The two red-haired cotters almost opened their eyes even more and let out a cry in exclamation. Although the captain lost an arm in the East China Sea and whose strength has declined, his strength is still 4 kings. But in front of Demon Eye Liu Bian, it was so vulnerable. The magic eye is flowing blade. It really deserves its name. There is a rumor in the sea that you have defeated the entire Whitebird pirates. I thought it was an exaggerated rumor, but now it seems that you really have this kind of strength. The red-haired admiration sounded, and he stared at Liu Bian and said, in the face of a monster like you, I don't want to use all my strength. It seems that it won't work. When the red hair said this, his thoughts moved, and the armed domineering began to be released. The griffin in his hand became pitch black as ink. Armed domineering can not only be used to deal with natural elements, but can also increase attack power. Immediately after the red-haired body shook, the person turned into a streamer again, and rushed towards Liu Bian with infinite aura. The black sword shadows were cut out by him. Its power has almost doubled compared to the original. However, the result was no different from the original. Liu Bian still didn't use any other bells and whistles, and only relied on a pair of iron fists to suppress the red hair to death. That's an embarrassment. Boom. It didn't take long for the red hair to be fisted again by Liu Bian, and this time he rolled around on the ground in embarrassment before he got up. This is the magic eye Liu Bian? Just by relying on physical skills, the captain can't be beaten. Horrible, terrible. This is nothing short of a monster. The two cotters brought by the red hair looked like a cold sweat, and they were breathing air conditioning. Hoo hoo hoo. The gasping voice sounded, but the red hair was panting and staring at Liu Blade. Then he mobilized the strength of his whole body, waved Griffin with one hand, and slashed out against Liu Jian from the air. Kang, with a sword coming out, a sharp sword light burst out along with a click. Chapter 404. As the sword light passed, the ice layer several meters thick from Liu Bian's ice was cut open like paper paste. A huge gap seemed to be a zipper, and spread to Liu Bian incomparably domineering, as if even the world could be split into two halves. Well, is this a sword of the 4 Emperor rank? Nami and Nicole Robin all took a breath. That sword is too exaggerated. Seeing Liu Ren's calm look, he just shrugged slightly. Not dodge or dodge. Su stretched out his hand towards the red hair. Demon Eye, Liu Bian wants to take my sword? It's impossible, the red hair couldn't help yelling in his heart. Even if Kato came, he was confident that he would leave a wound. Demon Eye, Liu Bian couldn't catch it. Just immediately after the red hair noticed, the eyes in the pupils of Demon Eye Liu Bian suddenly turned into the kind of round circle eyes, Shen Luo Xiangzheng. Immediately afterwards, Liu Bian spit out these words lightly. Boom. A terrifying force that was violent to the extreme erupted directly, and the powerful sword energy of the red hair was shaken away in the first instant. That's not the case. The energy still blasted away, crushing everything with the might of crushing it toward the red hair. Click, where the power fluctuated, all the ice surface shattered into dust. And the waves below rolled up. It just swallows everything. Nanny, the red hair's eyes widened suddenly, and that force was simply a natural disaster level and irresistible force. He was immediately overthrown by that force like fallen leaves, blown away by a gust of wind. It flew upside down for a distance of tens of meters, and then fell like a kite with a broken line on the surface of the sea. Captain, Captain, the two red-haired cotters couldn't help but exclaim. Boom, but the next moment, a huge wave blew up in the sea. Amid the surging waves, a figure rose to the sky, and one churning lightly fell onto a piece of ice. It is really red hair. Red hair is not a fruit-powered person, so he is not afraid of the sea. The first moment after falling into the sea, he rushes out using physical skills. It's just that the red hair at this time, blood has overflowed from the corner of his mouth. He was directly injured by the shot of Shen Luo Xiangzheng by Liu Bian just now. The magic eye is flowing. It is really terrible. The red hair wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, sighed in surprise, and put away the sword. There is no need to continue. I am not your opponent. Even if he was vomiting blood by Liu Bian, it was far from the limit of red hair, and he could continue to fight Liu Bian for some time. But for the red hair, he was just one to make peace, and he didn't come to fight Liu Bian life and death. The two sides only need to learn from each other. There is no need to fight too hard, so the redhead surrendered decisively. Redheads don't care about this kind of stuff anyway. What's more, so many people have lost in the hands of Morn Liu Bian, and he has red hair to admit defeat to this kind of person. Ling. The host can get one of the following rewards by hitting the red-haired Shanks. 1. Shank's swordsmanship. 2. Shank's domineering look. 3. Shanks' domineering. 4. Shanks' armed look domineering. At the moment when the red hair conceded defeat, Liu Bian's mind also sounded a system prompt. Liu Bian is still very satisfied with this, the 4 Emperor level domineering. Its rarity is not inferior to some powerful fruits. It is worth mentioning that red hair has never been described in the anime as being domineering, but that is because red hair has too few hands. There are too many abilities that have not been shown. Nothing more seeing and hearing color domineering. Red hair is also there, and it is not weak. It's boring. I think I can continue hammering you for a while. After regaining his mind from the system, Liu Ren looked at the red hair with a sense of enthusiasm. Red hair, the magic eye is fluent. Although my face is not worth money here, but I still hope you can think about my words carefully. Don't engage in a fearless battle with Kato. Let's work together to maintain the stability of the sea. Isn't it good? When he was about to leave, the red-haired still persuaded Liu Bian endlessly, making Liu Bian quite speechless. Red-haired is really worried about eating radishes. You have to take care of everything. The sea is chaotic and it has nothing to do with you. Red hair, go to your pirate group another day as a guest. Liu Ren smiled and waved at Hong. Each of the 4 Emperor's level pirates has piles of strong men. Although the red-haired pirates does not perform much in anime, it is obvious that it will not be an exception. Those who are strong, Liu Bian really wants to take advantage of it. Only one of the redheads was defeated, Liu Bian said. It was really not enough. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405. I'm sorry that the magic eye sloppy, I do speak a bit too much." When the red hair heard it, all the nonsense was gone, and he didn't dare to delay any further, and hurriedly urged his crew to sail. He also left as if he fled. What a joke. Monsters like Demon Eye Ryubana, let's go to the other pirate groups. Their red-haired pirate groups can't stand it. Master Ryubana, how do I feel that the red hair was scared away by your words? Nami couldn't help but smile while covering her mouth after the red hair left. Liu Ren couldn't wait to enter the system space, and chose the opponent's domineering as a reward. In the next moment, the red hair's powerful domineering look and hearing color was superimposed once again. And Ryubana's domineering color was suddenly greatly strengthened. Ryubana felt it. Now he can feel the range of thousands of kilometers at will, and he can also directly read the mood and thoughts of others. You can even predict the future for a short while. Don't be too perverted. Ryubana is still very satisfied with this. His current knowledge and domineering look, looking at the entire pirate's world, should be one of the best. Well, where did the last hand go? Did you take a peek at my card? Let's continue. Liu Jian was in a good mood, greeted Nami and Nicole Robin, and continued to fight the landlord happily. The voyage continues in this relaxed and pleasant atmosphere. Neither Ryubana nor Nami and Nicole Robin took this kind of thing to heart, and they almost forgot about it even after the red hair left. After all, everyone knew that Kato was just a clown in front of Master Ryubana, and there was really nothing to worry about. However, the atmosphere on the sea became more and more tense as the two sailing groups Kato and Ryubana approached. Kato and Ryubana are in this unprecedented battle. I don't know who will win. The magic eye is flowing blade, right? This is the existence of defeating 3 admirals one after another, offering a reward of 10 billion. This thing is really hard to say. The reward has soared to 10 billion in half a year. No matter how you look at it, it's not quite right. Even so, in any case, Demon Eye Ryubana is the one who captured the 3 generals. I don't know if Demon Eye Ryubana can kill Kato. For a while, everyone on the sea was talking about it, and everyone was staring at this unprecedented battle. Chapter 213 Kato, who gave you the courage to stop my boat? In the eyes of the entire sea, the distance between the Kato pirates and Ryubana was getting closer and closer. Finally, at a historic moment, they appeared in each other's sight. Master Ryubana is the pirate group of Kato. Nami looked at the mighty pirate fleet on the opposite side with a slight look, and said to Liu Jian, who was reading the newspaper in the deck lounge area, I see. Ryubana just nodded calmly, gently put down the newspaper in his hand, and stood up. What? While stretching his waist, he walked towards the bow, looking very lazy and casual. It seems that the one who is about to face is not the existence at the pinnacle of the new world, but just some insignificant little characters. However, Nami, Nicole Robin, and Lao Shat all showed solemn expressions on their faces, feeling an inexplicable pressure. In any case, that is also the 4 Emperors pirate group. Moreover, the 3 calamities and the 6 volleys. These absolute backbones were brought by Kato. And there were almost hundreds of crew members accompanying them. Such a battle, even if they all stood there motionless, it was enough to cause a great shock to Lao Shat and the others. That's the magic eye flowing edge. Isn't he just an ordinary kid? This is the person who has offered a reward of 10 billion? The Navy is really joking. He's the Demon Eye Russian Blade? Nothing unusual. As soon as Leo Blade appeared, the people from the Kato pirate group on the opposite side looked over, and talked unscrupulously. Frankly speaking, there is a big gap between Ryubana and their imagined image. They don't have the slightest sense of oppression or strength, but they look very ordinary. This is Demon Eye Ryubana? It's not as good as seeing. Kato also stared at Ryubana for a while, then grinned disapprovingly. Master Kato, this kind of person is not worth your shot. Let me kill him. Jin, one of the 3 plagues, once again stood up and made a proposal. Kato. Before Kato had time to answer, the Ryubana on the opposite side had already reached the bow, completely ignoring everyone else, and his gaze was directly on Kato. Who gave you the courage to stop me? Uchiha Ryubana's boat. Ryubana looked directly at Kato with both eyes and asked. Although Ryubana's original goal included Kato, Kato took the initiative to hit the door at this moment, and it was in the middle of Ryubana's arms, and he didn't bother to run again but tear in Ryubana. He provokes others and others provoke him are 2 completely different things. He tried to provoke others, only brushing the rewards. He would not do other unnecessary things, and he would not kill people, but others come to provoke him. Ryubana said that his magic eyes. Ryubana is not so good-tempered. As soon as Ryubana questioned Kato, all the people on the opposite Kato pirate group were ignited, and their anger surged. How dare this magic eye Ryubana speak to Master Kato in such a tone? Really looking for death? Boy, are you looking for death? Dare to speak to Master Kato like this? Are you impatient with your life so that Master Kato is so disrespectful? Chapter 406. So presumptuous in front of Master Kato. Let me kill him. The clamor and anger became a fusion, and many crew members of the Kato Pirates group stared at Ryubana and yelled, "Bing done!" A fierce color flashed in Ryubana's eyes at this time, and Bing Dun's power was used, and a piece of ice needles directly condensed chi. Then those ice needles began to overwhelm the sky, shooting densely at the clamoring people chi. With Ryubana's current strength, even this kind of basic attack is not something ordinary people can react to. A series of screams and muffled noises were heard in the group of beasts and pirates on the opposite side. Accompanied by the sound of flesh and blood being broken open, bloodbaths were shot out afterwards. Thump, thump. One after another corpses fell on the deck and fell into the sea. Kato, 3 plagues, Volley 6 and the other cotters of the Kato pirate group's eyes widened, and all of them were filled with fright. This kid actually did not agree with him and started killing. They look at the Kato pirates as nothing, unreasonable. Kato let out an angry shout, and slapped the railing heavily, with boundless murderous intent on his face. Whoosh, a person with flames on his body flew directly into the air, flapping his huge wings, and slammed his hands forward. It is the ember of one of the 3 plagues. Call. A large expanse of fierce flames burst out violently, covering half of the sky, melting all the ice needles that Liu Blade had hit. It's worthy of the 3 plagues. It's still 2 times. Liu Ren nodded approvingly on the side and said, "Demon Eye Ryubana, you are looking for death." There was a murderous anger from Jin's mouth, and he drew out the long sword around his waist suddenly, and the flames that jumped from his body suddenly filled the long sword. Then Jin flapped his wings and swished towards Ryubana with a fierce sword in his head. He slashed towards Ryubana. Ryubana's face showed a look of disdain. The eyes in his pupils switched to reincarnation eyes, and he stretched out his hand at Jin Jutsu, and the power of Wangxiang Xianin directly used a huge and incomparable force immediately acted on Jin's body. Nani? Jin's complexion couldn't help changing. The power was so great that it made him unable to parry at all. He could only watch his body and was attracted by that power to fly towards Ryubana. But immediately afterwards, an endless cold color appeared on Jin's face, and the wings behind him flapped more and more violently. Since you can't get rid of that repulsive force, just take advantage of the trend and attack it. Under the dual blessings of Vientian Xianin and Jin's own initiative flying, Jin's speed is almost unbelievable. A long tail of flame was pulled out at the scene, and in this overbearing way, he continued to slash towards Ryubana with his knife. But seeing that Ryubana's body was only slightly slanted, Jin's blade slid directly against Ryubana's body. There is no impact on the flow blade at all at the same time. When Jin didn't react at all, Ryubana's right hand just grabbed Jin's neck directly. The raging flames on Jin are still burning, but those flames that are very deadly to ordinary people have no impact on Demon Eye Ryubana at all. Even Ryubana just released the chakra wave, completely blocking those flames. A vague sound came from Jin's mouth, and he tried all his strength to struggle, trying to break free from Ryubana's claws. However, even with all the power, he couldn't get rid of it at all. Nani? What? Everyone on the Kato Pirates group on the opposite side almost stared their eyes out, and couldn't believe it. Jin, one of the 3 plagues, is actually as weak as a little sheep in the hands of Demon Eye Ryubana. Is that magic eye flowing edge so powerful? Huh? After staring at him with shocked eyes, Jin once again waved the flame sword in his hand and slashed towards Ryubana fiercely. However, Liu Ren's other hand flexed his finger slightly when a crisp sound of gold and iron sounded, and the sword of flame was directly bounced by Liu Ren with a finger. How is it possible? What a terrible power this is! Jin felt that his entire arm was sore and numb, and his whole body fell into a boundless dullness. Even Kato-sama couldn't flick his long sword with a single finger. Chapter 407. This person's physical skills are really powerful to a terrifying level. What? Jin immediately let out a vague roar, and the fruit power was activated, and the muscles all over his body began to twist and change. In a short time, he became a pterosaur with flames burning on its body. This is exactly the form of Jin's dragon fruit, ancient species, toothless pterosaur. In this form, Jin's strength has increased several times compared to the original. But even in this state of Jin, he found that he still couldn't escape Ryubana's claw. How is it possible? In front of him, my pterosaur form is so small, you can't even escape from his hands. There was a huge wave in Jin's heart, and he was horrified to the point of indescribable. He opened his big mouth and sprayed out boundless flames toward Ryubana. Call. The extremely violent flame rushed towards his face, but was automatically blocked by the chakra escaping from the surface of the flow blade. I can't touch Ryubana's body at all. Nani? What kind of monster is this? Master Jin's pterosaur form is still as weak as a sheep. Everyone on the Kado Pirates group was sweating profusely, and even some of them couldn't help shaking. I was really surprised by Ryubana. Is this the person who offers 10 billion rewards for the demon eye Ryubana? It really deserves its name. Kado also showed an extremely shocking expression, evil eyes flowing blade, let go of Jin. Immediately afterwards, Kado stared at Ryubana stubbornly, and convectively shouted in a low voice, under normal circumstances, even if the subordinates lose Kado, they will not intervene, but the situation before them is different. The gap between Jin and demon eye Ryubana is really too big. If you let it go, Jin will die. When he shot me, he wanted to kill me, but now you let him go? Are you kidding me? Kado. Ryubana glanced at Kado, and said, looking at Kado with the eyes of a second fool. Click. After saying these words, Ryubana didn't say any more nonsense, grabbed Jin's right hand with his right hand, and directly twisted Jin's neck. Jin, who was struggling frantically, was so limp, and his head slumped weakly it just became a corpse. The whole scene suddenly became silent, and it was so silent that everyone couldn't accept this kind of thing. Master Jin is dead, or was killed so easily. Master Jin is the leader of the 3 plagues. The Kado Pirates are the strongest, second only to Kado, and they can even fight against the general. There are even rumors of the strongest emperor lieutenant in the sea. Such a strong man died so easily. Everyone just thinks it is so unreal. It is totally unacceptable. Emperor Kado's face was as black as ink, and even his facial features were slightly distorted, and there was a low voice of anger and regret in his mouth. Jin was loyal to him, strong and powerful, and he was one of his most powerful subordinates, but he did not expect to die so aggrieved and so without dignity. But Ryubana seemed to have done a trivial thing, and as soon as he let go, Jin's body fell directly into the sea. It made Kado and other people want to kill people even more. This is simply an insult to Jin. Whoosh, a figure flashed past, passing over the water like a dragonfly, picking up Jin's corpse, and quickly turning back. It is the disease Quinn, who is one of the 3 plagues with Jin regardless of Quinn's fatness and becoming a meatball, but the speed has quickly become a gust of wind. It is obvious that the attainments of physical skills are not shallow. Immediately afterwards, Quinn placed Jin's body on the deck and retreated behind Kado, staring at Ryubana as if he were facing an enemy, and did not dare to act rashly. Fenke demon eye Ryubana has used its incomparable strength to explain that no one is its opponent except Kado-sama. Magic eyes flowing blade. Kado let out an extremely cold growl, and he took up his mace at this moment. You better kill me, otherwise, I will kill you here. Kado, are you looking for death? Facing the furious Kado, Ryubana still looked so calm. Then I will complete you, thunder and gossip. But when he heard a burst of scream, Kado suddenly uttered his mouth, and the mace in his hand began to crackle and flash with a terrible purple thunder and lightning. Immediately afterwards, Kado leaped and flew up like a hill in the sky, then picked up the mace blessed by lightning, and smashed it down against Ryubana. Kado's thunder and gossip is still very strong, and the 4th gear Luffy is even directly stunned by this trick. Hiss. As soon as this move was performed, Nami and Nicole Robin behind Ryubana felt a kind of suffocation subconsciously, and the hairs on their bodies stood up. All the muscles tightened subconsciously. That is the natural response of the body when faced with a certain degree of strength. Ryubana's face still didn't have even a single cent of emotional fluctuations. He shook his body, and the instantaneous technique was used, and he suddenly appeared in front of Kado. Chapter 408. Spiral Pill. At the same time, a 6th-level spiral pill had already condensed in his hand, and he pressed it against Kado's mace. Chapter 214. Kado, who is looking for death, is really dead. He actually dealt with the thunderous gossip of Master Kado with his bare hands? Really looking for death? The magic eye is too arrogant. This is too long, right? There was a sneer in the Kado Pirates. Even if Ryubana had just killed Jin in an extremely overbearing manner, his move still irritated everyone severely. In any case, that is also the thunderous gossip of Master Kado. Even Kado's face is endlessly cold. This magic eye is too small to look down on him. Kado, right? Boom. At the next moment, Ryubana's 6th-level spiral pill was directly pressed on Kado's mace, and a terrible energy wave suddenly waved out. Nanny. This kind of power. Kado's face suddenly showed a look of shock. His body shook suddenly, and he was directly overturned by the terrible force. Its huge body flew back directly in an instant. Click. A big hole was directly punched out of the deck. What? Even Master Kado was actually repelled. The remaining 3 plagues, the 6 volleys, and the other members of the Beast Pirate group nearly stared their eyes out one by one. Demon eye Ryubana turned his bare hands and knocked Master Kado back and flew back. It's amazing. You really deserve to be Master Ryubana. Nami's eyes widened too, and her face was full of admiration, and Ryuban also landed lightly at this time, but did not return to his boat, but stepped directly on the surface of the water. This scene made the pupils of the Kato Pirates group shrink and the magic eyes flowed. Can they still walk on the water? Ryuban didn't pay attention to Kato and the others' gazes. He began to pat his hands directly, and the 4 wooden clones split from his body, unfolded the instantaneous technique. Standing on the sea at the 4 corners of the Blade boat, Ninfa, 4 red sun formation, a crimson barrier appeared, isolating the entire ship inside. In this way, he can let go of a battle with his hands and feet next. Although Kato and others had never seen the 4 red sun formations, they were not fools. Even if they guessed something, it must be a means of protection. Each complexion became more solemn. Demon Ryuban's endless various methods are far beyond their expectations. Kato no longer dared to contempt Ryuban with a single point. With a move of his heart, the fruit power was activated, and it directly turned into a huge dragon hundreds of meters long. That huge body, the supreme dragon power that naturally radiated, made everyone on the scene feel a huge oppression. Even the people on the Kato Pirates are the same. Then, what is that? Good, big monster. Nami and Nicole Robin both subconsciously raised their heads to look at the behemoth that almost obscured the sky, and the sweat on their foreheads suddenly ran out. Is this the beast Kato? This is too exaggerated, right, Master Kato? I'm already angry. Demon eyes flowing blade, it's dead. After seeing Kato incarnate as the Azure Dragon, the crew members of the Kato Pirates group who had been shocked by the flow blade all became energetic. Roar! Kato in the blue dragon state uttered a roar, resounding like thunder throughout the world, billowing endlessly, and waved away far away amidst the rolling sound waves. King Long hovered towards Ryuban and rushed over, with a mouth. Spit out a terrifying pillar of fire towards Ryuban that was King Long's heat attack. This kind of attack is still very terrifying. It can easily spread over a distance of tens of kilometers, easily evaporating a mountain. However, Liu Ren still stood calmly on the surface of the sea, not dodge or dodge, just gently raised his hand to the terrible heat. Hungry ghost. A circle of invisible energy shroud appeared in front of Ryuban. The next moment, Kato's heat hit the energy shield directly, but something strange happened. Not only did the heat not cause any damage to the flow blade, but it also disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. What happened? Kato was stunned, and then let out an incredible exclamation. He actually absorbed my heat. What is going on? The demon eye rushing blade unexpectedly absorbed the heat of Master Kato. How can it be repaired? He can actually do this kind of thing. Disaster Queen and the others in the Kato pirate group also turned ugly. Chapter 409. Originally, they thought that even if Demon Eye Flow Blade could block Master Kato's move, it would definitely take a lot of trouble, but who would have thought that the other party would break it so easily? Simply effortless. Can you absorb my heat? What about my bad wind? King Long hovered around, opening his mouth and spraying towards Ryuban. Hoo. The terrible hurricane appeared directly. This hurricane is not an ordinary hurricane, but a wind blade like a knife cut. Even hard metal, weapons, armor, etc. can be shredded. It's so overbearing to the extreme. It is the bad wind attack in the state of Kato Azure Dragon. It's just a pity that although the sign of a bad wind is a hurricane, it is actually completely different from a hurricane. Bad wind is the super powerful energy that Kato spit out from the mouth. The energy flow formed by it. It is still an energy attack as long as it is an energy attack. Hungry Ghost AO can absorb it indiscriminately. Hoo. In the next moment, the terrifying hurricane blew in front of Ryuban, but it was still blocked by Ryuban's energy. When those hurricanes touch the energy shield, they will be swallowed and absorbed by the energy shield again. Even the bad wind has been absorbed. Kato's head was as big as a num, and his face was ugly. He couldn't accept it anyway. His own attack had no effect on Demon Eye Ryuban at all. In that case, roar. King Long's mouth made a roar that shook the world, and then twisted the white rice giant's body and flew towards Ryuban. Opened his big mouth, biting towards Ryuban. At this time Ryuban's pupils switched to reincarnated eyes, and a golden sword condensed in his hand. With a thought he gently hacked out at the oncoming King Long. Laugh. A alien burst out suddenly, licking the Azure Dragon in the air. Roar. A miserable, painful cry shook everyone's ears. While everyone was staring at them with shock to the extreme, they saw the 100-meter-long Azure Dragon, and his body suddenly shook. Then, it flew out directly at the same time. A bone-bearing wound instantly appeared on the huge dragon's body, and a large amount of blood spattered out. A pungent smell suddenly filled the air. Immediately afterwards, King Long flew upside down a distance of several hundred meters, and fell into the sea so fiercely, setting off boundless waves. Suddenly, there was a sound of chilling breath after another. Everyone shook their bodies suddenly, and their brains went blank all of a sudden. Completely petrified. Kato-sama was badly injured by the magic eye. How can this be? Lord Kato is the strongest creature by sea, land, and air. Except that Gwangayu mission was able to leave 2 wounds on Lord Kato back then. Lord Kato has not suffered any trauma. Moreover, the 2 swords of Gwangayu mission at the time were also cut into the abdomen of Kato-sama's blue dragon state. That place was not covered by dragon scales, but now, the sword of demon eye flowing blade made a terrible wound 20 to 30 meters long on Master Kato's blue dragon body, which straddled diagonally across the abdomen, and even the dragon scales on the back were directly crushed. Even the back left that kind of terrible wound. This is simply impossible. What kind of monster is this magic eye and blade? Master Kato, Master Kato. Immediately afterwards, all the crew members of the Kato pirate group who were shocked began to shout anxiously towards the direction where Kato fell into the water. Master Kato had never been injured so severely before, and they were really worried about Master Kato's condition. Wow! A huge wave soared into the sky at this time, but Kato in the form of a blue dragon flew out of the sea again, but in the pair of long eyes, it was already an endless shock. Demon Eye Ryubana, you have such a terrifying power. Kato's voice was also full of extreme shock, and even he himself could not believe that one day he would suffer such a severe injury. He didn't even die? He didn't even lose his combat power. The beast Kato, worthy of the title of the strongest creature. Liu Ren looked at Kato who reappeared, and his face couldn't help showing his approval. Undisguised admiration came out. It is true that the golden reincarnation explosion just now is not Ryubana's full strength, but it is also Ryubana's use based on previous experience of fighting people with unnatural abilities at the level of white beard and red hair are bound to die and be cleaved into under this golden wheel rebirth and explosion. Even because Kato's super defense has been taken into consideration before, Ryubana chose to kill twice the power of the 4 emperors. Chapter 410. But even so, Kato was only seriously injured. Are you humiliating me? Kato snorted angrily, and a man who severely wounded himself with a sword called himself the strongest creature. It was ironic no matter how he heard it. Tornado bad wind. Immediately afterwards, the huge blue dragon uttered a dragon roar again, and spit out a terrifying purple thunder and lightning towards Ryubana at the same time. King Long's body was spinning at a high speed like a top, which brought a hurricane to the extreme. The hurricane and thunder and lightning combined to form a heart-pounding combined attack. After hitting out this combo big move, King Long let out an extremely heavy gasp with just a blow. Almost all Kato's power has been emptied facing a strong man like Ryubana. Kato knew that ordinary moves would not have any effect at all, so he just finished his work and used all his power to strike with thunder. It looks a little bit. Ryubana nodded, as if an old senior casually commented on a junior. Immediately afterwards, he calmly shot a few reincarnation eyes to seek Taoist jade, turning, sweeping, and the same hurricane hit the King Long. It is the silver wheel reincarnation exploded. Nani, it was also a hurricane, but as soon as the black hurricane came out, Kato's hurricane was dwarfed. It looked like fragile porcelain, and it was immediately washed away by the black hurricane that reincarnated and exploded by the silver wheel. In this way, the black hurricane was like a broken bamboo. After easily crushing the tornado bad wind, it slammed into the giant blue dragon as if the blue dragon was struck by lightning. The entire dragon's body was violently shaken, and its body that was hit by the hurricane was directly sunken inward. Obviously, the bones were broken, and the internal organs were blown up without even thinking about it. Puff! King Long sprayed out a big mouthful of blood mist. And then he was directly knocked away hundreds of meters away and hit the sea. Master Kato! Master Kato! The entire Kato Pirates group was shocked and desperately anxious. They could see exactly what Kato's blue dragon body looked like when it was hit, but they could see clearly in their eyes, so their hearts suddenly lifted up because King Long was so badly injured. They even worried that Master Kato could not sustain it. Master Kato! Illness Quinn let out an exclamation, as if he had noticed something. He quickly stepped on the water using physical skills, and rushed to a distance of several hundred meters. Of course, there is an essential difference between Quinn's water tread and Ryubana's water tread. A few hundred meters is the limit, not to mention stepping on the water in a static state like a flowing blade in a blink of an eye. Illness Quinn came to the place where Kato fell into the water. He stretched out his hand to fish in the sea, and there was already an extra person in his hand, and it was Kato who had transformed into his body. The current Kato was so injured that he could no longer maintain the Azure Dragon form. Tadada! The disaster took Kato back so quickly and put Kato on the deck. A group of people surrounded it with hands and feet, but seeing Kato at this moment, the whole chest was almost turned into mud. and it made the scalp numb at this time. Kato's eyes were blurred, his gaze was dizzy, and his consciousness was already a little unclear. So, is this what it feels like to die? Kato opened his mouth and murmured like a dream. Then his head tilted, and his breath was gone. Kato, the sea overlord who created the endless legend, just finished his life in this way. Quiet. The scene was deadly quiet. All the people on the scene opened their mouths and stared round their eyes, and even their whole bodies trembled slightly. Unconsciously he looked at Kato's body lying in front of him in disbelief. They couldn't believe it, couldn't accept it. Master Kato, who could not be killed by anyone, now died in front of them. Chapter 215 Heavenly Dragon People? Just kill it, Master Kato, he is dead. How is this possible? Lord Kato was actually killed. No, it won't. Master Kato must not be dead. It took a few seconds for the Kato pirates to scream one after another, which was extremely shocking. Blasted the pot thoroughly. Asshole, I'm going to kill you. How dare you? Kill Lord Kato. Illness Quinn, as well as some other cotters of the Kato pirates, immediately gritted their teeth and roared. Then he rushed towards Ryubana in a swarm. Court death. Chapter 411. Ryubana's mouth let out a cold snort of disdain, and a golden wheel reincarnation exploded out. A white horse flashed in the blink of an eye and swept past all members of the Kato pirate group. Chi. Immediately afterwards, blood spattered out one after another, including the remaining 2 plagues and the 6 volleys. All the members of the Kato pirate group, without exception, all fell into a pool of blood with shock and unwillingness. Then he lost his vitality and became a corpse with just one blow. Ryubana slaughtered the remnants of the Kato pirates group clean and not left without exception. The entire Kato pirate group was destroyed by Master Ryubana. This is the power of Master Ryubana. Destroying the 4th Emperor level pirate group is only between flipping hands. 2 girls, Nami and Nicole Robin, were stunned. They only felt that their scalp was tingling, and they were so shocked that they couldn't speak in any case. That is also the 4 Emperors pirate group. Lao Shak, Sail. Ryubana seemed to have done a trivial thing. He didn't even look at the bodies of the Kato pirates, and casually ordered Lao Shak. Yes, Master Ryubana. Lao Shak replied and began to drive the sailboat respectfully. Ryubana took advantage of this opportunity to enter the system space to check the rewards he had just received. It's the old rule. Those who have devil fruits will use devil fruits, and those who don't have devil fruits will be domineering. As for the other ordinary crew members who have neither fruit nor dominance, Ryubana can only express that he has used his energy in vain and cannot bring him any rewards. But even so, Kato's devil fruits, as well as the devil fruits of the 3 plagues and the 6 volleys, are also a great harvest for him. Ryubana immediately entered the system space and swallowed a Demon's fish fruits from Kato first as he originally expected. Yangdun chakra got a lot of increase. It can be said to be a huge harvest. The other devil fruits have also increased Ryubana's other attributes of chakra to a certain extent. In addition, the 2 domineering colors of seeing and hearing color and armed color have also been improved to varying degrees. However, there is no overlord look. After all, this kind of overbearing is too rare, and rare generally speaking. This time I used a wave of rewards on the Kato pirates, and the harvest was still very good from the very beginning. The battle between Kato and Ryubana was highly watched by various forces on the sea, and the result of the war was quickly spread. It was like a blockbuster immediately, shocking everyone on the entire sea. There was an uproar over the entire sea. What? Kato, the beast, was actually killed by Demon Eye Ryubana. Kato, one of the 4 emperors, the beast, dead. As expected of the magic eye, it's terrible. Even Kato has been killed. This is so shocking. After hearing this news, countless people seemed to be struck by lightning, and they were so shocked that they could not speak. The strongest man on the surface, he couldn't even kill his own beast Kato, so he died. Everyone thought it was so unreal. That guy Kato died. After hearing the news, the Whitebeard on the mobile was also taken aback. However, immediately afterwards, Whitebeard showed a look of relief. But, if he died in the hands of Demon Eye Ryubana, then it would be nothing strange. At the beginning, Demon Eye Ryubana easily defeated him and all the captains on his own. The strength is already completely above them. Even monsters such as Kato, the beast, are not qualified to initiate provocations against such existences. The result of its provocation was the cost of life. After all, Kato still died in the hands of Demon Eye Ryubana. The red hair couldn't help but shook his head inside, his face full of sorrow. Although the discussion with Ryubana was just stopping, neither of the 2 sides showed their true full strength. But through this short fighting red hair, I can feel that the opponent's strength is indeed far more than the 4 emperors. Kato challenges such monsters, and it is very likely that something bad will happen after leaving. The redhead was a little worried now. His worry has become a reality from then on. The overlord who dominated the New World was no longer the 4 emperors, but the 3 emperors. The pattern of the sea was changed by the magic eye Ryubana. Nani. Kato is dead. When the ant heard this news, she was completely dumbfounded. She couldn't believe her ears, and even suspected it was a rumor. Unlike the white beard and the red hair, the ant has not really fought against Liu Jian, so naturally she does not know exactly the horror of Liu Jian. On the contrary, the ant and Kato are both Locke's crew members, and even after leaving Locke's, they have a lot of intersections, so she is very familiar with Kato's power. In her opinion, it is simply impossible for those characters to be killed. Mama, it's true, Baron Dondon said in a deep voice, and his voice was full of incomparable shock. After the magic eye killed Kato and let his body float on the sea, many people have seen it. And I also saw it with my own eyes. Confirmed, Nani. The ant's pupils shrank suddenly, and the whole person was struck by lightning, and all her face was shocked. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412. After a long time, she said incredibly and authentically, that magic eye so terrifying? It seems that his rumors are true. Originally, the ant, like many others, felt that Ryubana's reputation had a lot of moisture in it. After all, half a year's time went from being unknown to 10 billion Baileys, which is indeed a bit nonsense. But now even Kato has been killed. The strength of Demon Eye Ryubana is already a stone hammer. 10 billion is really not blown out. Mama, Kato is dead. What should we do next? Baron Dondon asked again. Back to Cake Island. After a moment of contemplation, the ant said repeatedly, since Kato is dead, we have no meaning here. The reason why the ant dared to provoke the navy and engage in affairs in the waters outside Marin Vatican was because of the presence of Kato. An ally. The two echoed each other, and it was nothing to provoke a wave of navy. But when Kato died, the ant herself felt a little lonely and hard to scream. She was not so arrogant that she would be the navy by herself. No one dared to do this kind of thing except Demon Eye and Ryubana, even the 4 emperors. So now it's time to go back to Cake Island. When Baron Dondon heard it, he couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief. By now, Mo and Ryubana had defeated 3 of the 4 emperors, and only 1 ant was left. Moreover, after killing Kato, Demon Eye Ryubana still marched in the direction of Malinfandote. Who knows if the target is an ant? If so, Baron Dondon said he was really a little flustered. Although if the target of the magic eye Ryubana is really an ant, it would be useless to return to Cake Island, but at least returning to the base camp can be more at ease in the afternoon. The Big Mom pirate group, which had been facing off with the navy for more than a month in the outskirts of Malinvander, suddenly evacuated without any warning. Naturally, there was a heated discussion on the sea again. Many people said they were not surprised by the ants' move. Considering all aspects, retreat was the right choice. Big Mom withdrew from the outskirts of Marinfandote. The news naturally reached Ryubana's ears, which made him feel a little surprised and reasonable. Big Mom didn't dare to single-handedly challenge the navy, so would it stay on the outskirts of Marinfandote, waiting to be beaten by the navy? Master Ryubana, Big Mom must have known that you are going over, so I was scared away by you, Nami said with bright eyes on one side. Think about how powerful a 4 emperor can scare away. Although this prestige was not brought by Nami, Nami also felt proud of being on the Ryubana boat. You look down on the 4 emperors too much? Ryubana shook his head and smiled. How many courageous people who have been in the 4 emperors will be so courageous? Even if the ant's evacuation was due to his Uchiha Ryuchi factors, it would not be purely because of her fear of Ryuchi. Bring the map. Immediately after Liu Ren gave Nami casually, Nami immediately took the map. Ryubana observed for a while. They were actually not too far away from Marinfando now, and if the ant didn't evacuate, they would be there in about a week. But now that the ant is gone, Ryubana thought for a while, and made a decision. Lao Shan. Change direction and go to the Shambor Islands. The distance between the Shambor Islands and Marinfando is very close. After all, the Shambor Islands are where the Danonians live. In any case, it is convenient for the Navy headquarters to provide timely support. In other words, Ryubana and the others are not far from the Shambor Islands now. Since the ant is not here, it's not bad to go to the Shambor Islands first, and find a Hades King Raleigh to brush up on the domineering. Not only that, the Shambor Islands are also the only way to enter the New World, so there are groups of pirates, bounty hunters, and illegal merchants who gather here all year round. In short, It is a mixture of dragons and snakes. Those 11 supernovae are also gathered here. Each of those supernovas is also a very powerful person, and it is also a good choice to brush rewards on these people. What's more, there are places like the Shambor Islands. There are various auction houses and other similar places, and maybe some devil fruits can be traded. It is still worth a visit. Anyway, it is also a drop-in. As for the end, there is no rush. Instead of tracking on the sea, it is better to wait for the other party to return to Cake Island and directly find Cake Island. After Liu Bian made the decision, Lao Shan naturally executed it without any discount, adjusted his course, and began to head towards the Chambordian Islands, fragrant, Shenbor Islands. Liu Bian is now paying close attention to every move by the Navy, and his change of course was immediately known by the Navy. Gang Guquan stood up in shock, and the cold sweat on his forehead suddenly ran out. The demon eye rushing blade is going to the Shambor Islands? How can it be repaired? The Chambordian Islands are where the ancestors lived, and the virtues of those ancestors can't be more clear. If those ancestors provoke the demon eye to Liu Bian, Gang Guquan can't imagine it anymore. He suddenly regretted it. When Kato and Liu Bian were fighting before, the steel skeleton held the posture of sitting on the mountain and watching tigers fight intuitively. By the way, I also wanted to use this to collect more battle intelligence of the magic eye Liu Bian, so I never showed up. But who would have thought that after the opponent had killed Kato, he would go straight to the Shambor Islands? Warring states, Demon Eye Liu Bian is going to Shambor Islands suddenly. You will immediately take the 3 generals over, just in case. I will rush over. Gang Guquan immediately contacted the Warring States period, and then he led the CP0 agents and hurriedly set off. It's just a step too late. Chapter 413. While they were sailing, Liu Bian and the others had already arrived at the Shambor Islands. Wow! So beautiful. So many bubbles. When Nami saw the Shambor Island full of regional customs, she couldn't help showing a look of wonder and intoxication. Even Nicola Robin couldn't help his eyes widening, and was amazed at this spectacle. After Lao Sha stopped the boat, they couldn't wait to rush down, like 2 butterflies, wandering among the bubbles floating in the air. Even Liu Bian showed a very interested look. This kind of bubble-filled world was too dreamy. First have fun on the island, and then do business. Liu Ren saw that everyone was full of enthusiasm, and was not disappointed, but said to Nami and the others with a smile, anyway, those things about him were not in a hurry. Long live Master Liu Bian. Nami jumped up happily. Next, everyone began to tour the various islands of the Shambor archipelago enthusiastically, which was not enough. But what no one knows is that there are some numbered islands in the Shambor archipelago that you can't go casually. In other words, if you go, you have to abide by certain rules, because on those islands, Xianlong people live. Of course, Liu Bian is clear about this kind of thing. After all, he has watched anime, but Liu Bian hasn't considered those disgusting things at all. It's fine if those things are honest. If you really dare to interfere with yourself, just slaughter them casually. Chapter 216. Demon Eyes Flowing Blades. Killing the Celestial Dragon. Liu Bian did what he said, and throughout the morning, he and Nami and Nicola Robin had toured and visited various islands to their heart's content. Still very happy. After all, there was no such dreamlike place on the earth before crossing, and it was the same in the ninja world, and Liu Bian was also the first time to set foot in such a magnificent and fantastic place. This kind of bubble car is really interesting, Master Liu Bian. Let's buy some and go back. On the street, Nami made a proposal enthusiastically, her eyes gleaming. These bubbles exist because of the special geographical composition of the Shambor Islands. Once out of the Shambor Islands, they cannot be maintained, Liu Ren said to Nami with a smile. Nami's face collapsed involuntarily, showing a look of pity and regret. Several people chatted and moved forward suddenly. Nami and Nicole Robin were very surprised to find that the bustling crowds on both sides of the street showed panic and fear one by one and immediately knelt on the ground. What's the matter? What's wrong with them? Nami looked at the people around who were kneeling one after another in surprise, and asked in a puzzled manner, Master Liu Bian, Nami. Look. Nicole Robin stared in a direction in front of the street, and greeted Liu Ren and Nami in a low voice. Nami followed Nicole Robin's gaze, and she saw a bloated and greasy middle-aged man wearing a transparent hood, with a string of snot hanging on her peaked nose, which looked disgusting. Surrounded by several guards, he swaggered over, and in the middle-aged man's hand, he was holding an iron chain, and the other end of the iron chain was actually tied to a woman's neck. It's like a pet dog on a leash. This is not a big deal. What's more terrible is that the woman, who was turned out to be like a pet dog, kneeling on the ground with her hands and feet, crawling forward. Nami couldn't believe her eyes. What are these so-called demons dancing around? How can anyone lead others, How can anyone be willing to be led by others? You guys, don't you want to live anymore? Don't you hurry down on your knees? At this time, the few people kneeling on the ground next to Nami were even more anxious and whispered to Nami, "Kneel down? Why do you want to kneel down? Who are they?" Nami asked, very puzzled. She had never seen a Cheyenne Longren before, so naturally she didn't recognize the identity of the snotty man. Yes, the disgusting man with snotty nose is indeed a Cheyenne Longren, or directly caused the initiator of the Dragon Man incident of the Straw Hat Pirate Group, St. Charles. Is he? Nicola Robin has been in the world since she was a child, and her experience is far beyond what Nami can compare. She suddenly reacted to something and her complexion couldn't help but change. "Master Ryubana, do you know who he is?" Nami, who couldn't figure out the situation, turned her questioning gaze to Ryubana. "Naturally know that he is the most disgusting race in the world." "No one," Liu Ren shrugged and said to Nami. Nami was stunned. From the words of Master Ryubana, she could clearly feel Master Ryubana's undisguised dislike of that person. Of course, she herself hated that person very much. If nothing else, just pulling people out like dogs is enough to rouse Nami's anger. Is this man looking for death? Quickly stay away from them, lest you be affected. You guys don't want to live anymore. And following Ryubana's words, the people kneeling on the ground all around were scared to pee, and one by one shuddered to the side. Chapter 414. At this time, even if Nami was stupid, she knew that the disgusting person was definitely not an ordinary person. "Master Ryubana, I think, let's go," Nami hurriedly said to Ryujin. "Alright," Ryubana nodded indifferently. "You guys," but at this time, St. Charles had already yelled angrily at Ryubana. "Several people, you lowly people, how dare you stand in front of the great sky dragon? Do you want to die?" Boom. Nami's brain exploded directly. Tian, Cheyenne Longren, that person turned out to be a Cheyenne Longren. How can it be repaired? What are these people doing? At the entrance of a tavern not far away, a very woman with short shorts, a green hat, and long red hair looked at Nami and the others in astonishment, and shouted angrily, "This woman is no one else. She was born in the South China Sea, and is now one of the 11 supernovas who are offering a reward of 140 million Bailey." Joe Ali Pony, who are these guys? Don't they know the situation? Not far from Joe Ali Bonnie, there was a sturdy young man with short fiery red hair and goggles on his forehead. His eyelids jumped wildly. This person also has a lot of background. It is indeed Kid, who is also one of the 11 supernovae, who is capable of magnetic fruit, and is offering a reward of 470 million Baileys. Are they looking for death? Another heavyweight superstar, Luo, who is capable of surgery fruit, is also staring at Nami and his party, and when Luo's gaze passed Nami and accidentally caught Liu's face, his entire complexion changed drastically. That is, Luo couldn't calm down. His face showed a shocked expression. Obviously, he has recognized Ryubana's identity. "I really didn't expect that person would come to the Shambor Islands." Immediately afterwards, Luo's face showed a very interested look. In this case, things will be more interesting. Not only Luo, but also several other supernovae have also recognized Ryubana's identity, one after another. In shock, I suddenly wanted to see how things developed for the average person. The Cheyenne Longren are absolutely unprovoked existence, but for the magic guy Ryubana, this may not be the case after all. This one, but even the Admiral dared to take prisoners. Heaven, Cheyenne Longren. As everyone watched, Nami suddenly panicked like an old dog, looking at Ryubana with sweat profusely. In view of the strength of Ryubana, Nami is now able to calmly appear even in the face of figures like the 4 emperors and the Admiral of the Navy. Can Cheyenne Longren? Nami really can't calm down. After all, Cheyenne Longren are the rulers of the world. Yes, Cheyenne Longren. Isn't this race disgusting? Nami, Liu Ren said to Nami, still indifferent, as if she was talking about something trivial. Nami was even more sweaty and irritated. "Dare you ignore me?" The angry voice of St. Charles Roth sounded again. He had completely lost his patience at this time, and he directly took out a gun. "You lowly people who don't know good or bad, go to death." Bang bang bang. Amidst the angry curses of St. Charles Roth, he pulled the trigger at Nami and Ryubana one after another. Hiss. Nami took a breath, and she went silly. She couldn't understand it all, couldn't believe it. Just because she didn't kneel down while the other party was traveling, she just killed someone. There are such people in the world, huh? Liu Jian's body shook, the instantaneous technique unfolded, and he appeared in front of Nami in the blink of an eye. He stretched out his hand and quickly fished it out. And he took a few bullets directly in his hand. Then Liu Ren threw those bullets to the ground, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. "Dragonman, do you want to die?" Hiss. As soon as he said this, the scene suddenly sounded another air-conditioned sound. Everyone looked at Ryubana with shocked eyes, and couldn't believe their ears. How dare this person openly threaten the Cheyenne Longren? St. Cheryl Rose was also stunned and dumbfounded. In front of the descendants of the great creator, the Cheyenne Longren, how could someone dare to be so disrespectful? How can it be repaired? Unforgivable. Unforgivable. Bang bang bang. St. Charles Roth let out in anger, once again picked up the gun in his hand, and the convection blade pulled the trigger one after another. Ryubana reached out his hand to catch the bullet very casually, and then directly reached out to St. Charles Rose, and the power of Yantian Cheyenne was activated. St. Charles Roth suddenly flew in front of Ryubana like a flutter, and was grasped by Ryubana. Bold. You are so courageous, how dare you take action against the great sky dragon? St. Charles Roth roared at Ryubana in fright. I must, catcha. Catcha. The voice of St. Charles Rose stopped abruptly in the middle, and was interrupted by a sound of broken bones. What? Chapter 415. At the same time, there was the scream of St. Charles Roth himself because Ryubana flew directly with his feet. He kicked off both of St. Charles's legs. Let St. Charles Rose kneel on the ground forcibly. How does it feel to kneel? Isn't it cool? Ryubana looked down at St. Charles Rose condescendingly, and opened his mouth with incomparable sarcasm. St. Charles Roth was finally terrified at this moment, and the eyes of the whole person looking at Ryubana were full of boundless terror shaking all over. She didn't even dare to say a word of cruelty. This kind of stuff, dare to claim to be the descendants of the creator? It's really a shame to the creator. Liu Ren curled his lips in disdain, and grabbed St. Charles's neck. It was crushed without hesitation with a strong force thump. Immediately after Liu Jian flicked, he threw St. Cheryl Rose's body on the ground casually like trash. Then he wiped his hands on the clothes with a look of disgust, and cursed, killing this disgusting thing really dirty my hands. The whole scene suddenly became quiet. Everyone around was petrified, staring at Liu Jian with wide eyes and horror. I can't believe my eyes when I say anything. This person actually killed the Cheyenne Longren. How dare he? How dare he? Unexpectedly, even so decisively killed the Cheyenne Longren? It's worthy of the magic eye. Luo wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, and said in shock and admiration, the devil's eyes are sloppy? You really dare to do anything? Joe Aliboni was also stunned in cold sweat, and was very irritated. That was a Cheyenne Longren, and he killed him without blinking his eyes. You, what did you do? Do you know what you did? The guards of St. Charles Rose were sweating profusely, trembling all over, and yelled out of convection blade in horror. Even the voice trembled. I was almost scared to pee. By Ryubana. Liu Ren was naturally too lazy to care about this kind of little girl, and he ignored it, just greeted a few people around him, let's go, then left without incident. But when Ryubana and the others left, the scene just exploded with a bang, and everyone talked in shock. After all, for the vast majority of people, Cheyenne Long people are superb and irreversible. Killing the Cheyenne Longren is definitely a major event to the level of the three views. Such a heavy incident, naturally, spread through the entire Shambor Islands at a terrifying speed, and stunned all the people on the entire Shambor Islands. Of course, during this process, the identity of Demon Eye Ryubana was also passed on. Have you heard that Demon Eye Rushing Blade killed a celestial dragon? Hi. Demon Eye Ryubana is too sturdy. Even the Cheyenne Long people dare to kill? Only Demon Eye Rushing Blade would dare to do this kind of thing. Basically, in every corner of the Shambor Islands, there is such a shocking sound of discussion. Many pirates quickly evacuated from the Shambor Islands while being shocked and cursing. Although these ordinary fish and shrimps are not the target of the Admiral, they are still opposites. If they are accidentally encountered, they will be destroyed by the way. Only the supernovas like Luo, Kid, Joe Aliponi and a few other courageous and capable pirates dare to stay in the Shambor Islands to watch the excitement. In short, the current Shambor Islands, the atmosphere is called attention. What are you talking about? The Demon Eye Rushing Blade killed a celestial dragon. How can it be repaired? The news that the Chamborian Islands was so hot, naturally also came to Gangakong, making Gangakong startled and angry, and almost crushed all the phone bugs in his hands. The Cheyenne Longren were killed. This is a bad incident that has not happened since the establishment of the world government. This happened during his tenure, and he has an inescapable responsibility. Imagine the anger coming from the 5 old stars that he will endure next, and Gangakong feels big for a while. Warring states, you must have received information about the killing of Cheyenne Longren by Demon Eye Ryubana. I want you to rush to the Shambor Islands as quickly as possible. If you find Demon Eye Rushing Blade, remember, you must do your best to keep the other party on the island. Until I pass, Gangakwang immediately contacted the warring states in a hurry. Now he can do nothing but urge the warring states to speed up and his crew to speed up. Chapter 217, Too terrible, isn't it? The three major explosive hammers. On the Shambor Islands, Liu Jian casually took Nami and Nicole Robin to wander around in various places. It seemed to have killed a Cheyenne Longren. For him it was nothing worth mentioning, so he didn't care about it after he killed it. Nami was also severely irritated by Liu Bian at first, but she calmed down quickly. The reason why the world is afraid of the Cheyenne Long people is simply because they will be severely attacked by the Navy if they provoke the Cheyenne Long people, or they will be personally entertained by the general. But Master Liu Bian is afraid of the Navy. What a joke. Master Liu Bian has captured even the three major Navy generals, and the Navy has nothing to do with Master Liu Bian, so what else is there to be afraid of? She quickly left the matter behind. Yes, it's them. Chapter 416. They killed the Cheyenne Longren. Hurry up and stay away from them. It's just that along the way, there will be such exclamations from time to time in the eardrums, and then some people run away with horror. Several people ignored it as the news spread. The atmosphere in the Shambor Islands became serious and tense to the extreme. Gradually, there were basically no ordinary people seen on the street because of the death of the Cheyenne Long people. The Navy will appear next. The pirates are now fleeing and chaotic. The residents of the Chamborian Islands have long been scared to stay behind closed doors. Only some pirates are still active. Many people still stare at Liu Bian secretly. That's the magic eye flowing edge. It's so arrogant. I dared to stay in the shampoo after killing the Cheyenne Longren. He simply didn't put the Navy in his eyes. Many pirates are talking in private. Some show admiration, some sneer, and some are waiting to see the excitement. It's really a magic eye. What is he doing in the Shambor Islands? Among the crowd watching, there was another handsome uncle with white hair, white beard and glasses. He looked at Liu Blade with a dignified expression and thought to himself, this uncle is no one else, and it is indeed one of the goals of Liu Bian's visit to the Shambor Islands this time. Plutarali, this kind of heavyweight thing happened on the island. How could Plutarali not be alarmed at this moment? Liu Bian, who was being watched by Lei Li, suddenly turned his head and forgot Lei Li's glance. The sights of both sides passed through the crowd and collided together. Lei Li's complexion couldn't help but shudder, although demon eye Liu Bian's gaze was faint. It made Lei Li feel an extremely deep, like a sea of stars. Raleigh knew right away that the person in front of him was definitely not a waiting person, but immediately after Liu Ren withdrew his gaze, glanced slightly to the southeast, and casually said to the two girls, Nami, Robin, after me. The two girls didn't dare to neglect. Their expressions couldn't help but solemn, and they each stopped, letting Liu Ren walk in front of them. Shoo! Only then did they faintly hear a roaring. The roar is very familiar. It is the roar of cannonballs. Nami and Nicole Robin's complexion changed slightly, and they turned their heads to follow the prestige. And they saw 3 cannonballs flying towards them from the sky above the town. On one of the shells, there was still a person standing. Nami and Nicole Robin both opened their mouths, and the pirates around were dumbfounded by the excitement. Stepping on the fired shells to appear on the stage? Is this too pretending? However, this kind of compulsion is very high. Without a certain skill, it is impossible to pretend if you want to pretend. Although everyone felt compelled, they were shocked. Boom boom boom, the cannonball arrived in a flash, directly bombarding the surrounding streets. With a violent explosion, the dazzling fire suddenly burst out, and for a while, smoke and dust were flying everywhere. A figure stood in front of the harsh firelight, without looking back, letting his coat be grinned in the impact of the explosion. It really interprets the phrase, a real man never looks back, at the explosion, as if the few shells were used to welcome this person's fireworks. General Wang and Wang Yuan, it's Admiral Wang Yuan. There were bursts of exclamation from the surrounding area, and many pirates were so scared that they were about to P.S. This man who stepped on the cannonball to pull the wind is no one else but the Yellow Ape General among the 3 Navy generals. It's Wang Yuan. This is a clever pretense. Even Liu Bian couldn't help but give Wang Yuan a compliment in his heart. Boom. At this time, a rolling sound suddenly sounded. However, a group of burning magma flames shot diagonally from the sky towards the town, pulling a long black smoke like a meteor from the sky. Then it hit the ground severely. The whole earth was smashed in. A big pit was smashed into it abruptly, and the surrounding pirates were even more smashed. The momentum is also extremely vast in the end. The magma surged and condensed into a figure, but seeing him holding his arms, his face was indescribably majestic. With endless coercion, say nothing, just stop there. You can scare some ordinary pirates to death. There is no doubt that it is General Akainu. This forced me to give 90 points to pretend. Second only to Wang Yuan, Liu Ren also gave a thumbs up to the Red Dog. He couldn't think that the three generals were all good at pretending. General Chi Inu, Admiral Red Dog is here too. There was another exclamation sound around. Even with vibrato in the voice, a general is deadly enough, but now there are two of them all at once. Huh? But at this moment, everyone only felt that there was a flower in front of them, and they saw a three-legged place with a yellow ape and the red dog on the street, and there was an abrupt presence of one more person. It's General Green Pheasant. Chapter 417. No way, all three generals are here. This is too exaggerated. It's over, it's over. The pirates around couldn't stand one by one. They were all sweating profusely and gasped in madness. For them, a general is aloof, crushing them to death like ants. Now, three generals are coming together. How can it be repaired? Is this the weight of the demon eye's flowing blade? The supernovas such as Luo, Kid, and Joe Alibani were also stunned, and no one could remain calm. Even if the Cheyenne Longren died, it would be enough for the Navy to send a general in order to show its importance. They dispatched three in one go, no doubt because of the magic eye. The three generals are here. They are worthy of the magic eye. Even the eyes of Pluto King Laylee were surprised. Even Captain Roger had never been so valued and feared by the Navy. I just don't know if Moy Liubian can beat the three generals together. Although the news that Moy Liubian captured the three generals has spread throughout the entire sea, but no one has seen it with his own eyes. Naturally, it is impossible to believe it. Also, at the moment when the three generals came out, while everyone was shocked and scared, they were also full of incomparable expectations. Everyone wants to see with their own eyes whether the magic eye can stop the three generals. Can you escape this disaster? Magic eyes, you can't run away this time. An angry grunt rang out. But Akanu stared at Liubian stubbornly, and shouted murderously. It is true that Akanu is now his own, but he still has to do what he should do. Before he could finish his words, the red dog shook his shoulders directly, and struck Liubian with a fist. Big Spitfire, a huge lava fist made of magma, with incomparable aura and power, slammed against Liubian. Liu Ren's mouth curled up with a disapproving smile, his shoulders shook, and he punched the lava fist. He directly blasted the lava fist, and even the arrogance of arms was useless. An attack of this level can be easily defeated by Liubian with his body alone. Huh? The next moment, Liu Jian himself shook his body, and instantly appeared next to Akagu. The speed was so fast that anyone would be shocked. A black fist that had been covered by armed domineering, like a meteorite from outside the sky, directly hit the red dog. Boom! Akaji's body shook, and the person was like a cannonball, and was blasted out by Liubian, smashing a big hole into a house on both sides of the street. Okay, so strong. One punch knocked the general Akanu into the air, unexpectedly. Just a punch. Shocked voices sounded around. Everyone knew that the demon eye was so powerful, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful that the admiral of the admiral was blown off in front of him. Very scary. Wang Yuan's wretched voice sounded, but Wang Yuan was slanted, with a dazzling light on his right foot, and he kicked Liubian far. A golden light shot at Liubian suddenly. However, in a blink of an eye, the golden light shot directly on the ground. The Liubian who had stood there had disappeared and appeared beside Wang Yuan with a kick. Wang Yuan also kicked the whole person. Boom! Wang Yuan also smashed the street and turned over after kicking the yellow ape. Liubian didn't stop at all. Following the method, the ghost appeared beside the green pheasant, and the fist struck the past like lightning. Boom! The green pheasant's body shook, and the person directly turned into a cannonball, which slammed into the ground, smashing the ground into a big hole. After less than 10 seconds of effort, the three major naval admirals who had shocked the entire sea were all sent flying by Liu Jian in no particular order. The entire scene was silent, and all the onlookers around seemed to have been struck by lightning, completely petrified, and even forgot to breathe. They couldn't believe their eyes. The magic eyes were so powerful that they were so powerful. A big general with a punch, that's an admiral, in front of the magic eye Liubian. It turned out to be as weak as a baby. Is this the power of demon eye flowing blade? It's terrifying. Luo touched the cold sweat on his forehead, swallowed fiercely, and said to himself in shock, in a blink of an eye, all the three generals were beaten up. Kid almost snapped his tongue, his fists were tightly clenched, and his whole body was suddenly wet with cold sweat. This is demon eye rushing blade. It's a monster. Pluto Raleigh supported his glasses. His face was also shocked. Liubian's strength was far beyond his expectation, and it was much stronger than Roger, the pirate king of the year. Even people like Pluto Raleigh and Supernova are like this, let alone the other ordinary pirates. They're all dumbfounded. Liubian shook his hand very casually, and a light of excitement flashed in his eyes. It is very convenient for the armed color domineering to deal with the natural ability 1 hammer and 1 standard. Chapter 418. He no longer needs to use very cumbersome methods to suppress the natural ability, although it can consume too much strength of Ryubana. It is far from being armed and domineering as simple and straightforward, isn't it? Boom. There was a loud bang, but the red dog broke through a big hole in the wall and rushed out directly, and the yellow ape and the green pheasant also got up one after another. The three generals began to join forces again to attack against Ryubana. However, it is no match for Ryubana's pair of iron fists, being pressed by Ryubana with a detonation hammer, and being beaten by Ryubana again and again. It was a miserable one. Everyone around was completely speechless. One by one, the scalp was numb, cold and sweaty. And even some people couldn't help but began to tremble. It was abruptly stimulated by the flow of blades. This man turned the three admirals into dogs just by relying on a pair of fists, relying only on physical skills, and no use of any moves. If this kind of thing is not seen with one's own eyes, no one believes it at all. Even watching this scene with their own eyes, everyone feels extremely unreal. Is this the magic eye flow blade? This is simply God. Okay, trash. A bunch of trash. In the fierce battlefield, an untimely voice suddenly sounded, but when I saw a woman, crowded by a group of shivering guards, she squeezed to the front, pointed at the generals of Wang Yuan and screamed, "Fortunately, you are still an admiral of the navy, and when the three of you work together, you can't even beat one of them. What's the use of raising your rubbish? It's better to raise a dog. Listen to me, even if you pay for your dog's life, you must kill this bastard. You must kill him." The woman's saliva splashed all over, and in front of countless people, she directly cursed the three Navy generals into dogs. There is no doubt that the only people who can do this kind of arrogance plus brain damage are the Celestials. Ryubana glanced at it and found that he was no stranger to the Dragon Knight, who had appeared in the anime, and it was the female Dragon Knight named Zalulaya Palace in the original work. They wanted to kill Luffy's mermaid friends, but they were stunned to death by Pluto Raleigh directly with his domineering look. But in front of Ryubana, she didn't have so much luck. "It's really noisy." Ryubana frowned, his hands quickly forming seals. "Fang done, vacuum jade." A wind blade cut directly and cut off the neck of Zalulaya Palace at once. Laugh, with the blood splashing, Zalulaya Palace's head flew directly. Chapter 218. The Admiral of the Navy? Not wrong, snapped. Zalulaya Palace's head just turned around like that, fell to the ground, and rolled like a ball. Everyone felt that their hearts had been severely stimulated. The demon eye flowing blade was really lawless, and even once again beheaded a celestial dragon. But I have to say that it is really cool to see the scene of the Cheyenne Longren being mercilessly slaughtered by Ryubana. In this world, there is no one who does not disgust the Cheyenne Long people, especially the broad pirates, who hate the Cheyenne Long people even more, and wish that the Cheyenne Long people died. But this kind of thing is just thinking about it, but no one has ever dared to really do it now that the demon eyes are sloppy. It can be said that they have done what they wanted to do but did not dare to do. Demon Eye Ryubana, you are trampling the order of the Navy openly. You are looking for death. A roar resounded from the red dog's mouth. He once again rushed towards Liu Ren with murderous intent. Wang Yuan and Queen Pheasant also attacked Liu Blade again. The abused life of the three people began again. The surrounding audience were a little unbearable to watch, and the three major admirals of the dignified navy were ravaged into such a terrible appearance. During the fierce battle, Ryubana's thoughts suddenly moved, as if he had discovered something. He sighed softly. It's time to end. Speaking of this, Ryubana's body shook, the instantaneous technique unfolded, and the person disappeared all of a sudden. Its speed is even 3 points faster than before. What? Wang Yuan's pupils shrank suddenly, and he was taken aback. Master Ryubana's speed had reached such an incredible level, he almost couldn't even catch it with a domineering look and hearing. In the next moment, before Wang Ape could react, Ryubana had already rushed to Wang Ape's face, stretched out his hand, covered with the armed and domineering right hand, and directly grabbed Wang Ape. Immediately afterwards, his pupils switched to the divine power riding round eyes, and once the short-range divine power was used, Wang Yuan was then transferred into the divine power space. Everyone saw that General Wang Yuan turned into a twisted vortex and disappeared into Liu Blade's pupils. Gudong. Suddenly, there was a sound of air conditioning around. Everyone was dumbfounded and their scalpnum was completely shocked by Ryubana's hand. Although they do not know the principle, General Wang Yuan was swallowed by the eyes of Demon Eye. It's terrible. Demon Eye's bladed eyes are terrible. It turns out that his eyes are really magic eyes. General Wang Yuan won't just die like this, right? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. we warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419. There was such a bewildered, shocking, and incomprehensible discussion around. Everyone looked at Liu Bian's gaze for a moment, and they were suddenly worried to an infinite degree. If there were 3 generals at the beginning of the blasting hammer, it was only the degree of the blasting hammer. Although the 3 generals were embarrassed and suffered more or less injuries of varying degrees, there was still some distance to kill the 3 generals. But now, directly wipe out General Wang Yuan. No one can be sure that General Wang Yuan is dead or not. Anyway, General Wang Yuan was swallowed with eyes by the magic eye, and there was no more breath. Liu Bian didn't even pay attention to the shocked gazes of the others at the scene, so he turned around, and the Shenwubi rider's eye turned towards Akagu. Long-range divine prestige is launched. The space around the red dog suddenly began to twist, and everyone saw that the red dog had also turned into vortex and disappeared. Yes, in addition to space cutting, the remote Shenwubi also has the effect of transferring objects. Kakashi has used it. It's just that the fellow Wang Yuan can actinize, and it is impossible to capture it with remote divine power. The other party can transform into a photon and escape in an instant. Therefore, Liu Bian needs to grasp the opponent with armed color domineering first. But for the red dog and the blue pheasant, there is no need to be so troublesome. Even if the other party can be elementalized, it is still a slow process. You can use the remote power immediately after. Liu Jian followed the same pattern. The blue pheasant was also transferred into the divine mighty space. The 3 generals who had fought against each other in the first place disappeared in a blink of an eye. If it weren't for the traces of magma burning, freezing, and photon shooting on the ground, everyone would even suspect that the 3 generals had not appeared. 3 generals, all have been swallowed. How can it be repaired? What kind of monster is Demon Eye Liu Bian? The 3 generals won't all be killed, right? How can there be such a monster on the sea? The surrounding onlookers murmured at the place where the 3 generals disappeared. And they all murmured in amazement at this moment. Many people were abruptly frightened by Liu Bian, and regarded Liu Bian as a character like a great devil. Even the supernova were so afraid of Liu Bian to the extent that they were so shocked that they didn't even dare to give birth to the slightest provocation. Magic Eyes Flowing Blade. At this time, there was a sudden explosion, and then everyone felt a flower in front of them, and at the same time the ground under their feet trembled fiercely. However, he saw a man who looked like an iron tower and fell from the sky, directly in front of Liu Bian. But seeing that the man has white hair and beard, although he is not young at a glance, his body is still as strong as a hill. He stood there with his arms in such a hug, it brought a huge pressure to everyone who couldn't breathe. Still empty. This is the commander-in-chief of the Navy. Pluto Lily's pupils shrank, and his face showed a look of surprise. He did not expect that a great like Gangakuang would be shocked. It can only be said that Demon Eye Flowing Blade is worthy of Demon Eye Flowing Blade. Yes, the person who came was no one else. It was the Navy Commander-in-Chief who rushed over from the world government in a hurry. The reason why Liu Ren forcibly stopped his performances, coughing, and fighting with the 3 generals was because Liu Ren had already used his domineering look and sense to perceive the arrival of Gangbong Kong. Who is this person? He looks amazing, a breath stronger than the Admiral. Who is this person? There is still such a man in the Navy. Cowardly whispers began to sound around, because Gangakuang was a character from the last era. So many people in this era don't know him. They are all talking about Gangakuang's identity. It wasn't until a few well-informed people called out Gangakuang's identity that there was an uproar on the scene. Demon Eyes and Flowing Blade are the pill. When he appeared, he attracted not only the 3 Navy generals at the same time, but even the commander-in-chief of the world government. Don't be too exaggerated, haha. But the more exaggerated thing is still to come. After the steel bones were empty, one after another people exuding a strong aura also rushed out using Yubu. It was just scattered around Liu Bian, a posture of enclosing Liu Bian. Those are really CP0 agents, huh? In the end, another figure flashed out and appeared in front of Gangakuang, making everyone even more surprised to stare out their own eyes. It was the Marshal of the Navy and the Warring States period. In other words, as soon as Demon Eye Liu Bian appeared in the Shambor Islands, he attracted the Admiral, the Marshal, and the 3 generals. This kind of battle scared the individual to death, shocked everyone for a moment, and the whole person was about to split. The Navy has emptied all the high-level forces in one go, just to deal with the magic eye Liu Bian. Doesn't this mean that the Navy headquarters is empty, if you attack the Navy headquarters at this time? However, this idea was just a matter of thinking about it, and it was quickly dismissed. The Shambor Islands are so close to the Navy headquarters that the Navy can go back to support it if there is anything to do. This is also the reason why the Navy dared to take the Navy headquarters empty. Commander, the Warring States period was about to briefly report the situation to Gangakong, when Gangakong waved his hand and interrupted him. Chapter 420. Gangakong was not a fool. As soon as he came to the scene, he saw the traces of 3 generals on the ground, and quickly judged that the 3 generals were fighting Ryubana not long ago, and now that the 3 generals disappeared without a trace, then combining the intelligence of the magic eyes and the blades they had, a logical inference can be drawn. The 3 generals were caught by the magic eye Ryubana into a different space. Therefore, Gangakong is still calm. As long as he can get the magic eye flowing edge here, the 3 admirals will naturally be fine. Warring States, you step aside first. I want to personally learn the skills of Demon Eye Ryubana. Gangakong stared at Ryubana with his eyes, and said to the Warring States in a deep voice. Warring States nodded, stepped back a few steps, and made room for the steel bones. Gangakong just walked toward Ryubana step by step, with endless coldness and chill on his face. As he walked, Gangakong suddenly disappeared in place, and the next moment, he appeared in front of Liu Ren like a ghost. The speed was so fast that Liu Ren felt extremely frightened because the speed of Gangakong is too fast and too fast. It is definitely the fastest man Liu Blade has encountered in such a long time in the pirate world. It is much faster than the 3 generals and the Warring States period. It can only be said that he is the commander-in-chief of the Navy, and with a casual shot, he can show his strength far surpassing the 3 generals. What terrible speed is this? Hi. Okay, so fast. I can't see it at all. Is this the Admiral of the Navy? The people around also took a sigh of relief, and was shocked by the speed of Gangakong. And even many people couldn't keep up with Gangakong's movements with a naked eye. In an instant, Gangakong came to Ryubana's face, raised his casserole-like fist, and smashed it at Ryubana. Relying on pure physical skills, he directly made a whistling sound. The power of this meat fist alone is much more powerful than Akadog's magma fist. The steel bone is empty, really not covered. Ryubana showed a little bit of fighting intent. He didn't dodge. He also shook his shoulder, and directly blasted his fist against the steel bone. Boom. The fists of the 2 collided fiercely in the air, making a dull clash. Ryubana's body stood still on the spot like a rock, but Gangakong's body shook suddenly, and the person was hit by Ryubana and ejected backwards. Deng stare. After landing, he took a few big steps backwards, and finally stopped the retreat. What? This is the power of Demon Eye Ryubana? It is so powerful. Gangakong's pupils shrank fiercely, revealing an extremely surprised expression. How is this possible? Since Demon Eye Rushing Blade became famous, every record has been extremely sturdy, but he thinks he can do it when he puts those records on the body of the steel, coupled with the fact that Steel Bone has a lot of information about Ryubana in his empty hands, knowing that Moi Ryubana possesses many incredible abilities, making Moi Ryubana's strength unfathomable and terrifying. So Gangakong subconsciously thought that the reason why Demon Eye Ryubana was so powerful was due to those abilities. But who would have thought that the opponent's physical skills were so terrible? Not under his steel emptiness at all, especially in a head-to-head situation. He caught his punch and shook him back. The bones of the steel bones are as hard as steel. No one has ever dared to fight him so hard. A fist like steel and iron is amazing. Steel bones are empty. Liu Jian's face showed a slightly surprised look just now. The steel bones were not attached to the domineering fist of the armed color, and they were harder than the domineering fist attached to Carp. The name Steel Bone is indeed well deserved. Humph! Gangakong gave a cold snort, and being so appreciated by Ryubana was an insult to him. He suddenly turned into a phantom again, and the ghost appeared in front of Liu Ren like a ghost. Chidori, crackling. However, Ryubana didn't intend to fight the steel bones at this time. With a move of his heart, Lei Dun chakra surged, and a web of lightning suddenly fell from the sky. He smashed down towards the steel bone space. However, Gangakong had already predicted Ryubana's attack by using his domineering look and hearing. With a sudden wave of his right hand, a layer of powder-like thing suddenly surged outward on his arm. The thing quickly condensed into a shield, shielding the steel hollow man underneath. And when Gangakong completed all of this, Ryubana's 1,000 birds thunder and lightning also instantly smashed down, but all of them were blocked by the shield. Ryubana noticed the powdery thing all at once, and he couldn't help but move. Could this be the ability of Gangakong? I just don't know what the powder is called. At the moment when Liu Blade Chidori flow was blocked, Gangakong's other hand was not idle, and that kind of powdery thing was also gushing out from it, turning his hand into a sharp blade. It stabbed at Ryubana so fiercely. Shenluo Shian's Heng, but immediately after Liu Bian's body emerged a huge repulsive force, and once again bounced the steel skeleton back. Chapter 219 The Admiral of the Navy was killed by Demon Eye Liu Bian. Boom! Gangukwang's body was hit by Shenluo Xianzheng, and it fell to the ground like a cannonball, and it took several strides to stabilize his body. Chapter 421 His pupils couldn't help shrinking slightly, and the power of Demon Eye Flowing Blade was so powerful that he could not resist a random blow. It's worthy of being a magic eye. Gangukwang stared at Liu Bian with his eyes, revealing an expression of incomparable admiration and fear. Immediately after his thoughts moved, that kind of powdery substance rushed out from all parts of his body, forming a pair of armor, which was wrapped around the body of Gangbong. Not only that, but two sharp blades were also formed in his palm. Is this the fruit ability of Gangukwang? Liu Ren looked curiously at the changes that had taken place in Gangukwang's body, although he didn't know what that powdery thing was. It was obvious that the other party could control those things at will, attack or defend. Gangbong, holding two sharp blades, once again rushed towards Liu Bian with lightning speed, and launched a merciless attack on Liu Bian. But soon, Gangukwang discovered that the strength gap between him and Liu Ren was far greater than he had imagined. Liu Ren almost relied on a pair of fists to press the steel hollow blasting hammer, and the hammer made the steel hollow to fly out again and again. Even the Admiral was beaten out of breath. It's terrifying. Is this the strength of Demon Eye Liu Bian? The surrounding audience was sweating. Demon Eye Liu Bian, your strength is indeed very powerful. You are the most powerful person I have seen in so many years. Gangukwang's face was full of incomparable solemnity, but even so, you won't be my opponent. The bone meal armor that I cover on my body is harder than diamonds. Ordinary physical attacks don't work for me, and energy attacks like wind, lightning, fire, etc. can't hurt me either. Even if you can suppress me, it's meaningless. In the end, I will defeat you here. It was only when Liu Bian heard here that it suddenly became clear that the powdery thing turned out to be bone meal. No wonder Kong's nickname is Steel Bone. This is quite similar to Jun Maro, but in every respect it is much stronger and more advanced than Jun Maro's ability. Can't you hurt you? Liu Bian couldn't help but laughed. The eyes in his pupils switched directly to the Amaterasu riding wheel eyes, and he directly used the Amaterasu pupil technique. Suddenly, a group of black flames suddenly ignited on Gangukwang's body. How is it possible? My armor is not afraid of flames at all. What kind of flame is this? Gangukwang almost stared at his eyes, revealing an unbelievable look. His bone meal armor, but he uses the fruit power to control the bone meal at the molecular level, forming a dense substance. The density is terrifyingly high, and the hardness is even more terrifying. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the hardest substance in the world. Diamonds are nothing short of them in front of them. General energy attacks and physical attacks basically have no effect, but right now, he was ignited by that magic eye Liu Bian. This is the first time I have encountered this kind of thing. In the exclamation, Gangukwang once again controlled a bone meal and began to surging. The part of the armor on his body that was burning automatically fell off from Gangukwang. It was very easy to resolve. I have to say that Steel Bone Hollow is still very poor. In the world of pirates, not many people can crack the trick of Amaterasu. Even a natural element like Wang Yuan has been recruited. But at the moment when Gangukwang divide-solved Amaterasu, Liu Bian had already used a faster instantaneous technique than Gangukwang to come to Gangukwang's side. The hollow pupils shrank slightly, and his heart was shocked. So fast. However, this astonishment soon disappeared in Gangukwang's eyes, and Gangukwang regained his composure. His almost indestructible super defense is his greatest confidence. Even if the terrifying flame of Demon Eye Liu Bian can burn off his hard bone layer, he can also crack it through regeneration. So although Amaterasu surprised Gangukwang at first, but now Gangukwang is calm again. He didn't believe it anymore. In addition to the black flame, there were other means to break his armor defense. Nani? But then, Gangukwang was taken aback again, because he was stunned and shocked to find that he could no longer move. Nani? What's going on? Gangukwang is really incomprehensible. Although the magic eye Liu Bian came to his side, he obviously didn't do anything. There was even some distance from him, and he didn't launch any attacks on him. What Gangukwang didn't know was that his shadow on the ground was actually connected to Liu Bian's shadow. It is true that Liu Bian used the shadow imitation technique to fix the Steel Bone Kong's whole person. Of course, the person who performed the shadow mimicry was not Liu Bian himself, but a wooden clone of Liu Bian. There was no doubt about this. As for Liu Ren himself, he switched his pupils to the Divine Mighty Eye technique once again, and directed a shot of remote Divine Might against the Steel Bone empty head. The power of a layer of space appeared, condensed in the neck of the steel skeleton. What? How could it be possible? Gangukong once again showed an extremely shocking color. He clearly felt that the bone meal armor on his neck was cut open by an indescribable force. The bone meal armor he was so proud of was torn open again. It is another method other than the black flame. Chapter 422. If you change to an ordinary person, there is basically no solution in this situation, and there will be no other end except for the head being cut off. But the steel hollow is not covered. Although his entire body was fixed and unable to move by the shadow imitation technique, it did not hinder his ability to activate the fruit. With a heartbeat, the bone meal on the steel-boned empty back began to surging, and several bone meal pillars condensed out of the sound of a few sneers. It grows quickly and plunges into the ground behind the steel hollow as the bone meal pillars continue to grow. The steel bone hollow man was suddenly pushed forward by the elongated bone meal pillars and shot out. It's as if the Monkey King in Dragon Ball uses the wishful stick to extend to the sky. When Gangukong's shadow and Liu Jianmu clone's shadow were separated, Gangukong himself had already returned to normal. It's just that there are red blood stains on the steel-boned empty neck. If you take a step slower, the steel-boned empty head will be cut off. It's terrible, terrible. Gangukong's eyes looked at Liu Bian again, no longer the original calm and confidence, but full of incomparable shock and fear. This person is indeed terrible. It is no wonder that even the admiral and the three major generals have been planted in this person's hands one after another, as expected of the admiral of the navy. There are two things. Liu Ren's eyes also showed approval. This admiration really came from the heart. The old man with white beard and hair in front of him was undoubtedly the strongest person he had ever encountered. Gangukong stared at Liu Bian with his eyes, and didn't say much nonsense, but at this time, a large amount of bone meal began to gush out crazily from all parts of his body. In a flash of effort, a bone meal giant of almost 40 meters was formed like that. Not only that, but in the hands of the giant bone meal giants, they each hold a majestic bone meal blade. Liu Bian was surprised. He couldn't think that Gangukong would have such a trick. However, following Liu Bian, it was relieved. Gangukong was a single person equivalent to the powerhouse of the four emperors level pirates. How could he not have some hard work at the bottom of the box? Among other things, the giant in front of him is a giant who is harder than diamonds on his body. Even if he is placed in a world like pirates, it is of an open level. Even if you stand there motionless and let the four emperors fight, the four emperors can't hurt the steel frame at all. It's over, Demon Eye Liu Bian. In front of my body, you don't have any chance of winning, the giant steel bone Kong said in a deep voice to Liu Bian, and then walked towards Liu Bian step by step. Boom boom boom. Every step of the way, the earth trembles along with it, not to mention how terrifying the momentum is. Yes, Liu Ren smiled disapprovingly. It is true that in the face of a giant of this size, Liu Bian's shadow mimicry can hardly be effective. Even if it can cause a certain restriction to the opponent's actions, he will soon be freed by the opponent. However, it would become much more difficult for long-range divine power to cut such a huge target. Liu Ren didn't think that divine power could still play an obvious role in this situation. In addition, Suzuo, who once abused the Great Buddha and the Warring States period, is almost useless at this moment. After all, even if Suzuo can suppress the giant steel bones, he can't break the opponent's defense. Other methods are also difficult to play a role. Of course, there is definitely no problem with the Golden Wheel Reincarnation and Silver Wheel Reincarnation. No matter how hard the bones are, they will be ruthlessly crushed in the face of such tricks that can destroy an entire planet. But at this moment Liu Bian didn't intend to use these two big moves. Because of the current situation, Liu Bian had other more suitable options. With a thought in his mind, a pitch-black jade for seeking Taoism directly condensed out, and under the control of Liu Bian, it turned into a sharp blade shape. With a sneer, he shot directly at the giant steel skeleton. Gangukong naturally didn't know what Chudaoyu was, but seeing Liu Bian's self-confident look, he couldn't help but stunned, and had a bad feeling. After all, the Magic Eye's tactics are too unpredictable and endless. No one could break through the entire sea of steel bone armor, but the Magic Eye Liu Bian broke open twice in succession with ease. Who knows if there will be a third time? Chudao Li's burst shot was very fast, and Gangukong had no time to dodge, and Chudao Li's blade shot directly onto the giant Gangukong's body. Click, the sound of the object collapsing sounded, and that sharp blade directly shot the giant steel bone hollow body. The front chest went in, the back chest went out, and a transparent hole was directly shot. It's impossible. How could this happen? The steel bones in the giant almost stared out his own eyes, and he was so shocked that he couldn't believe it. What is going on with that black thing? The indestructible bone meal body was several meters thick, and it was as fragile as tofu in front of the small sharp blade it was directly penetrated. However, it is a pity that Ryubana didn't know exactly where Gangbokong was in the giant's body, although a hole had just been punched. It was clear that it did not cause any damage to the steel hollow. The relationship between Gangbokong and Gangbokong completed. The battle body is somewhat related to the relationship between Alan among the attacking giants and the giants. Alan's people are distributed on the back of the giant's neck, but Liu Jian is not known where the steel skeleton is in the battle body. Not only that, but Liu Bian's domineering look was also cut off by such a heavy giant, and he couldn't effectively detect the specific location of the steel bone hollow. But all of this is not a problem for Liu Bian. If you don't know where the steel skeleton is, it will be over if you poke a few more holes. With a thought in his mind, he beat out 4 more Dao-seeking jade, forming the same Dao-seeking jade blade one after another. Chapter 423. The jade blade for seeking Taoism that was beaten by Liu Bian also flew back, so the 5 jade blades for seeking Taoism were divided into 5 directions and suspended in front of Liu Bian. Oops, oh no, the steel skeleton inside the giant's complexion changed drastically, and the cold sweat on his forehead shook down. Seeing Liu Bian like this, how could he not know Liu Bian's intention? If this continues, it will be sooner or later that his body will be pierced by the other party. If it is in a normal state, Steel Bokong can predict the trajectory of the opponent's blade with a domineering look and hearing, and can also effectively dodge. But now Gangbokong controls a 40 or 50 meters tall giant, and his flexibility is greatly reduced. In addition, the bursting speed of the flowing blade and the sharp blade is surprisingly fast. It is impossible for him to avoid it. Is it a living target? Chi. When the steel bones were secretly crying out, the flowing blade's jade blade really started to move, scattered away, and shot at the finishing body from different positions. Click. After the battle, the body was shot one after another. Soon Liu Bian's face showed a faint smile on his chest. He had successfully stabbed Gangbokong and captured the position of Gangbokong. Chi. After a few shots, Begging Dao Yula blade directly and mercilessly greeted him, and once again shot a few big holes in that place. The body suddenly stopped moving after the battle boom. Then he leaned forward and fell to the ground. Liu Bian had already used the domineering look and sense to perceive that Gangbokong had been completely killed by him. Chapter 220. Liu Bian, want to hit the Navy headquarters. The commander-in-chief of the Navy was also defeated by Demon Eye. Liu Bian, hi. Even the commander-in-chief of the Navy is not the opponent of the magic eye. For such a big giant, it was solved in such a short time. The scene was completely quiet for several seconds, before one burst of unbelievable exclamations broke out. Everyone saw it in cold sweat, and even some of them couldn't help but shiver. Such an incomparably shocking giant was unexpectedly dealt with by the Demon Eye rushing blade in twos, and he looked completely relaxed. The magic eye flowing blade is really terrible. Even the Admiral of the Navy was easily killed. Demon Eye Liu Bian is simply a monster. Pluto Raleigh also opened his eyes wide, and couldn't believe what he saw. He and Gangbokong are from the same age, and no one at the sea knows that Gangbokong is better than him. He originally thought that the battle would not end until several days and nights, but who thought it was over before 10 minutes with an overwhelming advantage. Demon Eye Liu Bian killed Gangbokong with a powerful force. This severely stimulated Pluto Raleigh. The supernovas such as Luo, Kid, and Joe Ali Boni also swallowed spit wildly, sweating coldly, and frightened them all. Even a terrifying person like the Admiral of the Navy was killed by Demon Eye Liu Bian. How could there be such a terrible person in the world? But what no one noticed was that after Gangbokong was killed by Liu Bian, the handful of first-generation ghosts he carried with him began to emit a black and red monster. Those monsters flowed into Gangbokong's body along Gangbokong's 7 orifices, and Gangbokong's eyes, which had already been closed, suddenly opened again. It's just that at this moment, his pupils are no longer the normal pupils, but become black and red. Liu Ren noticed this immediately, and his brows couldn't help but raise. The steel bone is empty. Isn't it dead? No, he obviously killed Gangbokong. It seems that Gangbokong still has a whole card. Liu Bian immediately moved in his heart, with a very interested expression on his face, and regained his gaze to look at the body giant who fell to the ground. But immediately after Liu Bian saw that under the control of Gangbokong, the giant quickly turned into bone meal and dissipated, and Gangbokong's figure appeared in his sight again. It's just that the steel skeleton at this moment is completely different from the original at this moment. Gangbokong was exuding a black and red aura from all over his body, even the pupils, and he was holding a long knife that also exuded a black and red aura in his hand. It doesn't seem to mention how weird it is. The Admiral is okay, as expected of the Admiral of the Navy. That's amazing. Some unidentified people saw that Gangakuang was not dead. The boss was surprised, but many people also discovered the anomaly of Gangakuang. The current steel frame is empty. No matter how you look at it, it's okay just like that. Holding the fascinating first-generation ghost Tetsu in his hand, the steel-boned body shook, and appeared in front of Ryubana in the blink of an eye at a speed that no one could react to. What's the matter with the speed? Ryubana frowned slightly. Gangakuang's speed was much faster than before, almost catching up with him. Huh? Immediately after, Gangakuang flipped his wrist, shaking his hand and slashing at Ryubana. Chapter 424. A single blow, accompanied by a large amount of black and red air, also attacked Ryubana. The black and red air faintly formed the form of an evil spirit. This is, Ryubana's pupils shrank slightly, and this knife was not right. He actually felt a kind of oppression on the soul. This knife can even attack the soul. If it is an ordinary person, it is really helpless when encountering this kind of weird demon knife. After all, how can ordinary means be able to deal with this kind of attack? But as far as Liu Ren is concerned, his Yindun chakra has already been strengthened many times, and Yindun represents spiritual power, and to put it bluntly, the power of the soul. Of course, this is in terms of defense. Even in the face of this class of demon swords, Ryubana is more difficult to get hit than ordinary people in terms of attack methods. The power of other people's relations has become stronger. The eyes in Ryubana's pupils turned and switched to reincarnation eyes. And the power of the human world was used and merged with his fist that had turned black. He punched the first Oni. Tore the black and red air of the first generation of Onitsuna, faintly presented the posture of evil spirits. When it was covered by the power of the human world, it suddenly dispersed into a cloud of irregular gas. When, immediately afterwards, Ryubana's fist also hit the first generation ghost Toru all at once, making a clear sound of gold and iron. Oni Toru of the first generation was directly knocked off by Ryu, but something amazing happened. The first generation ghost who was beaten now turned around in the air and flew into the hands of Gangakuang again. Gangakuang continued to grip the first generation ghost Toru, and the convection blade launched a fierce attack. Liu Ren soon discovered that Gangbongkong seemed to be a different person, and his fighting style was completely different. The original powerful fruit ability, never used too much, but like a swordsman, only using a knife to fight against himself. Of course, as far as the weird knife in Gangakuang's hand is concerned, the combat effectiveness and threat of Gangakuang will increase exponentially. There was an evil spirit hidden in the sword, and if you changed it to anyone, I was afraid that you would have been recruited long ago. After all, they don't have the power of the human world, able to disperse the evil spirit again and again. Try if Amaterasu will work. After fighting with Gangakuang for a while, Ryubana shot out with a burst, and the eyes in his pupils switched to the Cheyenne Sayo riding wheel. Eyes suddenly glared at the first generation ghost in the empty hand of the steel bone base. The first generation of ghosts suddenly burned a black flame. Gangakuang just glanced slightly, like a walking corpse, without any mood swings on his face. However, at this time, a large amount of black and red aura, almost physical, began to emerge from the first generation of ghosts. The black and red gas whirled and twisted wildly, as if struggling, and then began to surge wildly towards the black flames of the original ghost. During this process, Ryubana seemed to have seen the struggle of the evil spirits and heard the hideous roar, but soon, the black flame was gradually extinguished in the surging of the black and red gas. Ryubana can be said to be amazed. This is the first time he saw the Amaterasu being forcibly extinguished by other forces. After obtaining the Amaterasu for so long, it can make steel bone Kong's strength soar, and it can also extinguish Amaterasu. I have to say that the demon sword is really extraordinary. I really want to know, how many times can you turn off Amaterasu? Liu Ren looked at the original ghost with great interest and said that he knew that the evil spirit could understand his own words. It is true that the evil spirits have a way to extinguish Amaterasu, but Amaterasu has indeed caused indelible damage to the blade of the first generation of ghosts, and the first generation of ghosts is also the place where the evil spirits reside. As long as the first generations of ghosts are destroyed, the evil spirits will surely be finished. Even if it is not finished, it will definitely be greatly affected. Otherwise, why should the evil spirits extinguish the Amaterasu flame? The black and red aura on the first generation of ghosts surging unceasingly, once again formed an evil spirit form, seems to be thinking about Ryubana's words, facing away with Ryubana. You don't think that I have only Amaterasu to destroy the demon sword, do you? Liu Ren smiled immediately. His mind moved, and a jade for-seeking Taoism appeared, condensing a long blade. Immediately after, Liu Jian shook his body. He appeared in front of Gangakuang in the blink of an eye at a speed 3 points faster than Gangakuang, swiping up the jade blade for-seeking Taoism, and slashed at the steel bone. Gangbone Kong subconsciously swung his knife to block when there was a soft sound, and the first generation ghost was directly cut off by Chiu Dao. Oolong blade split into two. The evil spirits on the first generation ghost began to twist crazily, and then suddenly turned into a boundless black and red color, and then shrank into the first generation ghost. In the next moment, that half of the first generation ghost flew away directly from the empty hand of the steel skeleton, and soon disappeared. No one knows where it went. Nami, Lao Shat. Chapter 425. Nicole Robin. Everyone has some reaction at that moment. They had a weird feeling, like the demon knife taking the initiative to escape. At this time, Gangakwang's pupils also returned to normal again, and the person seemed to lose strength all of a sudden, and then shook so weakly and fell to the ground weakly. Liu Bian glanced at Gangbone Kong and found that Gangbone Kong, which should have died, did not die even if he lost the demon sword. It seems that the demon knife repaired Gangakwang's body. It's just that now without the blessing of the demon sword, the steel bone is dragging the badly wounded body, but there is no more combat effectiveness faced with a steel hollow in this state. Liu Bian didn't have any interest in killing the opponent again. It can only be said that the steel bones are dead, and dead was saved by that demon knife. Commander, a figure flashed by, but it was the Marine Marshal Sengo Fisheng who came to Gangakwang's side and helped Gangakwang up. Go back, go back. Gangakwang tightly grasped the hands of the Warring States, and said to the Warring States with a weak voice, the demon eye flowing blade is really terrifying. The strength is simply ridiculously powerful, and it is desperately powerful. The three admirals had fallen into the hands of demon eye Liu Bian. He himself was seriously injured and lost his combat effectiveness. Now there is only one Warring States left. If the Warring States were killed by demon eye Liu Bian again, the Navy would really be completely finished. As for the matter of the demon eye's flowing blade killing the celestial dragon, sorry, the Navy is really helpless. I understand, Commander, the Warring States replied in a deep voice, no longer hesitating for a while, assisting Gangakwang to quickly evacuate. The Navy flinched. The Navy is softened in front of demon eye Liu Bian. Seeing this scene, everyone's complexion was extremely complicated, and the pupils shrank severely. The Admiral and Admiral of the Navy, in front of the magic eye Liu Bian, flinched. This kind of thing is something that everyone can't even imagine. It gave everyone a great shock. Wait a moment, however, before taking a few steps with the support of the Warring States period, Gangakwang suddenly heard the sound of Liu Bian from behind. Gangakwang's body stiffened involuntarily, and his face became ugly to the extreme. Wouldn't it be impossible for the demon eye to rush to kill? Steel bones are empty. Don't be nervous, you are like a waste now, and I have no interest in killing waste. Liu Bian curled his lips and said with a trace of joking, magic eye Liu Bian, what on earth do you want to do? Gangakwang didn't seem to hear Liu Bian's sarcasm. He just stared at Liu Bian, and asked with incomparable fear, just right. The Admiral of the Navy and the Admiral of the Navy are here, then I will take this opportunity to officially inform you of one thing. Liu Ren glanced at Gangakwang and the Warring States too seriously, and said lightly, what's the matter? The Warring States also looked at Liu Ren with the same hatred. Eyes supernovas such as Luo, Kid, Zhou Ali Pony, and other pirates who were onlookers couldn't help but their ears. They were also very curious. Mo and Liu Bian specifically called the two highest Navy officers, what exactly they wanted to do. Your Navy has troubled me over and over again. Do you really think I'm a bully, Uchiha Ryubana? So, I decided to give you some color for the Navy. Listen carefully, you two. In 2 months, I, Uchiha Ryuki, will be on the Navy headquarters. As everyone watched, Liu Ren gently spit out such words. The whole scene suddenly became quiet and silent. Everyone seemed to have been struck by lightning at this moment, standing stupidly and motionless. Their faces were full of extremely shocking colors, with their mouths so wide open, their eyes staring round, and they were completely petrified. I couldn't believe my ears. Demon eyes flowed. How dare you declare war on the entire Navy in the presence of the Admiral and Marshal of the Navy, pretending to fight Malin Vander? Is this crazy? No, even a lunatic can't do such crazy things. Since the establishment of the world government, the establishment of the Navy, and the beginning of maintaining order on the sea, naval provocations have not been absent. The most representative is Kato. Who even dared to go to Malin Fando to find death? But no one has ever dared to declare war on the entire Navy alone. If Liu Jian was a talented person, it was really like a blockbuster. Stunned everyone. You, what did you say? Gangakwang's face was even more sluggish, and he asked incoherently. At this moment, his brain was also buzzing. And there was a short blank. I wondered if I had hallucinations, and couldn't believe what I had just heard. Someone blatantly claimed to be on the Navy headquarters in front of him as the Admiral of the Navy. What a joke. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.